Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, ma'am. The name's Buzz, on account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. All safe electric registered electrical contractors must give you a certificate of completion that shows their work meets approved standards. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
OTB AM.
Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
All right, Friday morning, 7:30. Welcome along to OTB AM, and I'm joined by such luminaries this morning as always on a Friday morning is Eoin Sheahan. Good morning to you, Eoin.
Morning, Adrian.
And Kevin Kilbane.
Good man, how are you keeping?
How are you getting on?
I tell you, I don't think I've sat in this studio with you for, must be a good 3 or 4 months now.
Convincing you to come in on a Friday morning, and any morning I think is the difficulty there.
I haven't heard you on air for the last few weeks.
I've been away, Kev.
It's good to know.
I've been away.
It's good to know. Don't come for me then.
We've a slot to come up a little later in the show where I'm going to do blow by blow, sort of holiday photographs and recommendations for people's holidays.
Yeah, we've travelled the world.
I have.
Fair play to you.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
I went to France and then I went to Inishbofin.
Lovely. Which is better?
Did you get the weather in
Inishbofin? is the best place on the planet, so it's
with weather
difficult to. I survived 10 days of a heat wave in France where it was like close to 40 degrees without getting a jot of sunburn, and I was 2 days in Inishbofin.
I can tell.
A cloudy Inishbofin, and I got sunburned.
Ah, right, good.
But
no evidence of that though, really.
Not now, because
but you probably put factor 50 on when you're in France, and then you've come back home and you've gone, nah, I won't put anything on.
The children take the sun better than I do, and one of them is only 8 months old.
No doubt. I mean, as I said, we can tell.
Yeah, so no, it was factor 50 all the way, but no, it was a great time, lads. As I said, we have a slot coming up a bit later on where we'll take you through all the holiday snaps and
lovely
recommendations and all that sort of stuff. That's coming a bit later on. How are you?
I'm great, very, very
Thanks
good.
for the coffee, by the way. We're all delighted. How was your coffee, almost all right, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely delicious. Love Starbucks.
I just got mine out of the machine a bit earlier on. Just if anybody had been passing by a coffee shop and could have sort of given us a shout to say, coffee on, lads.
No, the coffee's nice. No, where I parked the car this morning, I walked past the big American chain of...
Yeah.
Is that an endorsement deal, putting the star into Starbucks?
Did they get your name right? Oh, they got your name right now.
Yeah. That was it. It was good. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's not DJ Killer. What is it? It's Kevin on it, is it? Kevin.
Yeah, Killer, yeah, can't say that, jeez.
You were a busy man last night. You popped up on Virgin, flipping around the channels last night. I want to see what's happening. Next thing, there's Macy Gray. There's Kevin Kilbane and Macy Gray.
Yeah, it was good. That was an experience meeting Macy Gray last night. Yeah, that was very good.
How was she?
She was great, yeah, very good. Very good.
How was she, like, off there?
The star you would expect, yeah.
Was she?
Yeah.
In what way, like?
Well, no, she's multi-Grammy winning artist, isn't she? So, yeah. It was, it was nice.
I feel there's more to the story here.
It was nice to meet her. Good to meet her anyway. Yeah, so that was it, yeah.
Are you around to talk about OTB Sports Radio?
Yeah, that's it. I was giving us all a plug last night, which was good. Yeah, it was very nice. I was well briefed before I went on, Adrian.
So I understand. That's my biggest concern was that they were going to say, so Kevin, OTB Sports Radio. And Kevin wants to go, what?
No, it was good. No, it was good to be on. It was good bit of a laugh anyway. So yeah, that was fine. And then I just nipped over then, Ballymount, 10 minutes over to Tallaght Stadium. So I went over for 60 minutes, saw 60 minutes of the game last night.
Good game?
Good, yeah. Very impressed with Rovers. First half, they controlled the game, really, and then Brand scored, and it looked as like you're thinking, oh, here we go. But they managed just to compose themselves and got the 2 goals. And, young Jack Byrne, who we know his ability, he's probably not been able to be able to get a consistent level to his performances. But I think the last few weeks, from what I'm hearing and what I've seen myself, he's starting to really come good, and last night he scored a great goal, really good goal on the turn, and created the second goal. So that's the ability he's got, and I think he should certainly be having much more of an influence in the final third in games, and that's going to put him in Mick McCarthy's mind then for the senior squad, because he's got the ability. He's a terrific player.
Yeah, because it was real composure. It wasn't a great ball in. We have a video of him. Tommy's going to run it for us in a second. Is that Jack Byrne talking, or is that Jack Byrne? That's Jack Byrne talking. The video, the goal was the ball into him actually wasn't fantastic. There was a huge amount of composure to get the ball back on track.
Well, I think it's how he used his body as well. Allow it to come across himself, take the touch, and then instantly knowing his position on the pitch and taking the strike away, putting it back across the keeper. It's a lovely finish from him. And as I was saying, that's the ability he's got. I think too often when I've seen him, I think he just drops a little bit too deep because he's almost goes looking for the ball too readily. I think sometimes he can just stay forward or stay higher up the pitch a little bit more, get on the ball further up the pitch in the final third and have more of an influence because, as you saw last night, say with his goal and then the second ball for the second goal where he created it was just a lovely first time pass, and that's what he's got. That's what he has in abundance, and I think if he can just continue that type of form and have more of an influence on the game in the positions that he had an influence in last night, we could have someone that can go on and play. I genuinely think he has the ability to go and get 50 caps. That's the ability he's got, but it's just about putting it together and the consistency that he needs to show. But he's a terrific player. Yeah,
for a guy who's got for like 4 or 5 goals this season, it was surprising to me that he was so far advanced. Actually, maybe the most.
Well,
advanced.
I think when you say that he's surprising because when I've seen him, I've probably seen him a good half a dozen times this season, and I just said before, I think he comes and gets the ball off the back four, well, they played with a back 5 last night, back 3, and his pass completion will be 100% probably most games. He doesn't give the ball away, but I think he can take a few more risks with his passes. And last night, even when he was coming deep, he was getting his head up and playing forward passes, risk-taking passes that were having an influence and opening up Byrne, and that's where he had an influence on the game last night. It was very, very, very impressive performance from him,
Yeah, so they're into it's a great story, really, and they're into the second round of the Europa League qualifiers. It'll be the Cypriot team, Apollon Limassol, the home leg next week, and that's definitely one to look forward to. Guarantees another $250,000. It's $500,000 for Shamrock Rovers as well, so that's another great day for them. But Jack Byrne talking to Jamie Moore after the game.
Not clear of danger just yet. Carr heads it down to Finn. Finn controls it well. Here's Byrne. Jack Byrne scores for Shamrock Rovers. And what a fantastic goal by the Hoops. 75 minutes on the clock. Shamrock Rovers take an equaliser here to make it 1-1.
What's the feeling like celebrating in front of that new stand when it's packed? I know a lot of fans come on the pitch, they shouldn't have, but for you to score and go and see that and do that.
I just think, like, you know, the club, we want to be involved with the fans, you know, we want them to come out and experience nights like this with us. If there's nobody in the stands, you know, we don't experience that together, you know, so it's great when you can interact with the fans like that and you can get moments like that, because that's a great moment for us and a great night for Irish football. Same with Dundalk last night, you know, their travelling fans going over there and then winning on a penalty shootout. It's unbelievable. So, but it's our night tonight and we're obviously buzzing, like, you know.
Yeah, getting all the congratulations there. Jamie Moore talking to Jack Byrne after the game last night. Tommy was suggesting that there was a great pass into him.
Oh no,
I thought it was a bit sort of.
Do you know what it was? It was bobbling. He had to. He had to
back to goal to
work
begin
his
with.
body. Yeah, he had to work his body because it bobbled into him a little bit as well. No, it was the first time pass. It was actually really good playing the build up to it. And you're not always going to get that perfect pass, are you? But it was how he adjusted his body and allowed it to come across his body, take this touch, and then finish it. It was. I think you're overly harsh to say it wasn't the greatest to pass. It was.
You know me, Kev. I'd be extremely critical.
Well, you're a perfectionist, Adrian, aren't you?
That was Stephen Bradley, by the way, that came in and patted him on the neck there at the end of that interview as well. The other big news overnight, there's so much stuff to get to. I was talking to the taxi driver on the way in today, and a few people actually over the last week, and they're like, there's nothing much happening in sport. Like, there's still loads happening in sport. Like, it's
last Sunday was unbelievable, wasn't it? I mean, I was down in Killarney on Sunday, and we finished up after the game. You know, obviously the result, everyone's a bit down who was around me anyway, but then we went into a bar in Killarney and the tennis is on. So then the tennis is on, and they switched the cricket in a pub in Killarney. I couldn't believe it. I was
switched to the cricket.
Oh,
there was a request in the pub I was in to get the cricket on, and they were looking at.
They put the cricket on in the pub. I was. What's going on here? Cricket in Killarney. There you go. It's a modern world.
Fair enough.
Modern world, Adrian. I tell you, we've changed. We've all moved on.
Did you voice your displeasure at this?
Well, there was one or two. Yeah, off. But no, it was.
Leave on that tennis. That great Irish game.
Yeah, that's true. But it was such a good day. I mean, I think it's been an unbelievable few weeks, and then you've got the Open as well. That's
incredible. And Jason Quigley was fighting last night, and we were half expecting to be able to speak to him on the show today, but unfortunately he suffered his first professional defeat against a Johnson of the Bahamas last night. He had a great start by all accounts, but as the fight went on, it became abundantly clear as it went on that Quigley was just hanging on, and eventually in the 9th round, his corner threw in the towel, and that was it for him. So he was 16-0 going into it last night. Roundly expected to beat this guy, sort of 35-year-old with a couple of defeats in his card, but his O is gone now, and hugely disappointing for him.
Yeah, you're gutted for him, aren't you? Because of, I think the expectations he's probably put on himself. I've listened to him on the show a number of times over the last few months, and the positivity that he has in himself, and he's coming into the game expecting to do something, and you know he's made massive sacrifice in his life. First of all in America, then he's been over in the UK, hasn't he? So it's you're gutted for him. That's the thing. So hopefully he can get himself picked up and he can continue.
Yeah, it'll take him a while now, I think, because it would have been, if he had won that fight, which he was expected to do, it would have been a couple of fights away from potentially a world title bout. So that you assume is on the back burner now for a little bit. And he had spoken so positively about it. Eoin had shared on an article from the 42 yesterday that he'd done with Gavin Casey, and he was speaking so positively, and he was so, it seemed like, aware of his circumstances and aware of his own potential frailties as a fighter, and was really sort of meeting those head on. And it was for those reasons it was kind of surprising. But yeah, we've been in touch with his team this morning. They said that he's been referred for a mandatory medical assessment, which is pretty standard procedure, obviously, in those instances after a bout like that. So we wish him the best, obviously, and we'll hopefully catch up with him at some point during the week to find out exactly where it went wrong from his point of view. And the Open is the other thing, obviously, that we want to get our teeth stuck into, and we'll do plenty of that this morning. We've about 10 contributors joining us over the course of the next 2 hours from Portrush and various locations. Kev, you know the way we'd obviously send a massive team of golf.
I was on to Joe yesterday. Joe was up and down for yesterday, wasn't he? Joe went up to have a look.
Yeah, well, he is going to be one of the contributors that we're going to speak to a bit later on.
Ah, good.
But Rory McIlroy obviously was one of the stories of the day for all the wrong reasons, and like an absolute nightmare start for him.
Yeah, I actually missed his start. I missed his first 3 holes. I switched it on, and was he 5 over when I switched it on? I think he was.
Triple bogey in the first hole. He hits OB off the tee.
Yeah, I saw it all. I'd seen the playback of it. Yeah. I mean,
with an iron off the tee, by the way.
I think the one thing that you can't overlook, you know, for all that, even in relation to what I was saying there with Jason Quigley as well, that all sportsmen, women, you know, you have that way about you where it's almost as if you're unflappable. Nothing can take you down. But clearly, that was clear nerves at that first tee. He's obviously gone for it, and he's the expectation. I think the expectation he put on himself as well. The ad that had come out in the last week, the Nike ad, his new logo that's gone on his shirt. He's going home to play in his. Well, it's not his home course, but it's certainly one of his home courses. Yeah. And I was just like, Why do you need? Fair enough. It's all marketing from Nike, and they want to put on a big thing around him with him going to his home country to play. But I just think it was unnecessary pressure. In my mind, it was unnecessary pressure that he's put on himself going into it, because he was favourite going in, and then when he teed off, I mean, he was gone after that first hole in my mind anyway. That was it, wasn't he?
I really liked the Nike commercial. I don't think that has anything to do with Rory McIlroy's performance yesterday.
I think the Nike commercial's great, but they've marketed him around this tournament, going into this tournament, and
what I would say is that that's Nike, fair enough, and Rory McIlroy might be the shyest guy in the world, but Nike will make you look like the most confident guy in the world. Separate to that, what we really get a sense of is what Rory McIlroy is actually thinking, and he was thinking that this is a huge moment for himself.
Yeah.
He put that on the record. This would be the biggest moment of my career to win at Portrush. If you can't handle it, why the hell are you saying that in the lead up to it? Why are you having a go at Brooks Koepka last week for being the guy who only shows up at majors when you can't show up on the first tee? And of course you know better than almost anybody else, bar perhaps Darren Clark only, in the entire field, off an iron, and you put it out of bounds.
There's
it's a complete bottle job from Rory McIlroy yesterday. He makes
those statements about, I'm really confident when I'm, rightly one of the favourites, I'm going to win this thing, I'm in such a great frame of mind. There's an argument that he makes those points to put himself in the right frame of mind.
Nonsense.
That he needs that pressure.
I can see what you're saying there. I can see what you're saying. Maybe that may be a thought process. That may be a thought process, but it's not doing himself any favours. If that is the case, he's doing himself absolutely no favours, because the pressure that's mounting. Because what you'll see now probably with Rory McIlroy, look, he's gone. I mean, he chased it the last few holes. He's well and truly gone now. If he makes the cut, it'll be incredible. I can't see it, but if he does, that would be an unbelievable achievement in itself. But you'll probably see him now turn up in 2 or 3 weeks' time. He'll win a tournament on the US Tour. He'll be great again, and then it'll almost be. And I think that's the way it's been in the last 5 or 6 tournaments, particularly in the lead up to the Masters. I remember the pressure that he put on himself going into that. and it's almost as if he can relax in the last couple of rounds because of the pressure. And again, you know, you can throw anything at us all. We all play golf. We all play. But I think the pressure, unnecessary pressure, I think he's putting on himself going into every major now is ridiculous. He doesn't need to do that.
But like, I agree completely. I just think with the Nike thing, you're getting a lot of money off this. But I don't think you're necessarily putting yourself under pressure with that. That's kind of a commitment. But it's the media dealings he has. What he says when the microphone is in front of him, that just does not help him. He may think it's helping him. And clearly he needs to get a whole new team if he honestly is not being told by somebody in his team, whoever is actually helping him out here, that no, Rory, that is not the thing to say, because let's look at all these other big moments you've had since last winning a major. You haven't got the job done. You haven't got that next major. You haven't managed to complete the career Grand Slam for the supposed greatest player of your generation. That was a complete and utter bottle job of the most spectacular proportions yesterday. Yeah, and it's not good enough from his perspective. I really like Rory McIlroy. I really wanted him to win this weekend. And I really stood up kind of in my own mind to say, no, actually, he's doing the right thing in terms of talking himself up, because that's where he needs to be. Maybe this guy just can't handle the pressure.
Yeah, I think, well, maybe he can't. And, you know, when he wins, it always seems to be when he is a lot more relaxed in going into the tournaments. Because, of course, he won some big ones. Or there's not a major on the line. Yeah, maybe that is the case as well. I mean, you're talking about that where he's having to go at Brooks Koepka, he's having to go at other players and things. Like, Brooks Koepka comes out, and he's a total arsehole, isn't he, it seems, when he comes out.
I don't think so.
No, but I mean, I'm saying in terms of when he's given, you know, even was it the lead up to the US Open where he said, look, you know, you take half the field away, there's 130 in the field, take half the field away, half that again. Basically, I'm competing against 6 or 7 players.
I like that, though.
Yeah, but you'd like that, but he's obviously, he's got that arrogant streak in him, and a bit of an arse is probably strong in my mind, but
he's also
that's not. But that's no, he's not. He's not on that level. But that is. But Rory doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Just be yourself. Like,
Richard, that's probably him. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you talk about people advising him, it's very clear from Rory McIlroy's entire career, not just the stuff that happens on the course, that if there is somebody advising, he ain't listening. He just does his own thing. That is Rory McIlroy. That's actually the truest Rory McIlroy I think that exists. What you're actually suggesting is be a different Rory McIlroy. Don't be yourself. Take the advice
do you think
of somebody.
That's him? I'm listening to him when I've ever heard him do interviews. He seems like quite a decent lad, and I think whoever's been marketing him around, I mean, over the years, and I've maybe been a bit critical of him, like when you see his Instagram, when he's in the gym and he's doing bloody 100 press-ups a day and all this. I don't need to see that. Go out and practice your game. I don't want to be seeing all this, because I just think it's nonsense in my mind. But that's going back to what you're saying there. It's marketing about, you know, Nike and all these things. You have to put yourself out there a lot more. I think he puts himself under undue pressure. I really do, because of that. And I think we saw it yesterday clearly that first tee box was just too much for him. Yeah. And he would probably, I'd say he'd suggest it wasn't, but clearly it was. Yeah.
All right, we're going to come back to that and the Cork-Kerry minor game last night on as well. It
was under 20s.
Under 20s, the 15 or 16 minutes that were into the show, we so far managed to avoid speaking about, but we will come back to it, rest assured. I know you're keen. The jubilant scenes of the Cork footballers there last night. So here's what's coming up over the next hour and 3/4 or thereabouts. We're going to get stuck into the sports pages in just a few minutes' time. I'll let you know what's happening in the newspapers today. We've a transfer special coming your way to let you know what all the latest dealings in the transfer market will be. We'll get Kev's thoughts on those. We're going to talk the Open Championship with Joe Molloy at about 8:30. Ronan O'Neill, who only left the Tyrone panel this year, is going to discuss the weekend's football. Some interesting games ahead this weekend in the Super 8s. Can Mayo get the finger back out and get the All-Ireland train, Sam Maguire train, back on track? We'll get Kev's thoughts on that, I'm sure, as well. In a little bit, John Duggan going to talk about the Open from Portrush. That's just before 9 o'clock. Will O'Callaghan will have all your morning's sports news after 9, and then our daily Deal or No Deal coming your way at about 9:10. So that's what's coming up over the next little while. Papers are next. First, check this out.
Join Off the Ball in Abu Dhabi this November 17th to 23rd for the inaugural Off the Ball Open. With flights from Dublin, 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, golf on 2 championship courses, gala awards dinner, Peter Lowry golf clinic, and a live Off the Ball roadshow. You can also hang out with some special guests, including Kevin Kilbane and Kieran Donaghy. The inaugural Off the Ball Open. Book now at CassidyTravel.ie and check out offtheball.com.
Yeah, you can check out offtheball.com for more details on all of that. Here is what's happening in this morning's newspaper. We're going to kick off with the Irish Examiner. A smiling Shane Lowry leads the way here. Smiles and trials. It says here, writes John McHenry, Lowry sparkles, but McIlroy's hopes in tatters. And also that Cork's flying forwards rout Kerry in the Munster under-20 final. That's the Irish Examiner this morning.
I'm starting with the Irish Daily Star. Punch and Moody is the headline. Rory endures nightmare start, says Jeremy Cross at Portrush. And Robbo tells Pogba to ignore Iola. So he's been warned to stop listening to his agent and to focus on turning Manchester United into winners once again. That's Brian Robson, who's a club ambassador on their summer tour, saying that he's a great player. He should concentrate on that. He's contracted to Manchester United and he should concentrate on playing for United.
It's an interesting one, that with Raiola, because that seems to be the problem with a lot of the clubs that Pogba's played for, and certainly Man United. It was certainly a problem with Ferguson. It was a problem now. It seems to be at the club, doesn't it, that Raiola is perceived to be the problem when he's essentially doing his job.
The fans singing his name. Was it Juve the other day? That was like, oh, many Raiola. There we go.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
What a superstar.
That's madness, isn't it? That is madness, isn't it? But there you go.
What have you got for us?
There you go, yeah. Joe McNally is adamant that the current side, the greatest ever, they're talking about the Dublin side in the race for 5 this year, so he's adamant that the current side will be the greatest football side in history if they go on to win the 5th All-Ireland in September.
He throws in that nonsense line that the great Kerry team wouldn't hold a candle to this current Dublin team, that they wouldn't stand a chance in a one-to-one game.
I should have marked that up there, yeah, but there you go.
The nonsense line.
It is a nonsense line. How can you expect a team from the 70s to match a team from the teens? Any team.
But I think you're trying to, like, if you're indulging yourself in that nonsense argument, you obviously need to extend it out to say that it's a level playing field in that regard, right? Like, because it's a nonsense argument to begin with.
They said they wouldn't live with this team.
Yeah, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'll just give it a little Jack Byrne as well. Jack Byrne, great little picture of him. That was in Shamrock Rovers 2-1 win over Byrne last night as well, we mentioned earlier on.
Sorry, I just want to finish up on the Irish Daily Star, because the two most important stories here. First one, Conway ready to exit role. Paul Lennon, who had an exclusive yesterday about the full extent of the FAI's financial difficulties and the bailout that UEFA are giving them. It could be as much as 15 to 20 million euro. We'll know that over the next couple of years. He's reporting this morning, and it's reported elsewhere as well, actually, that Donald Conway is poised to signify his intention of stepping down as FAI president ahead of tomorrow's EGM. So there was a possibility, of course, that he would stay on, that he would oversee this for the next year. This does not mean that he's going away. He is potentially staying around, being part of the board for the next year during this transition phase. But as president, it looks like he's not going to hang on. He has also followed up the idea that Johnny and I were kind of floating yesterday, that should this AGM actually go ahead? And Lennon reckons that as soon as the AGM starts in a couple of weeks, what is it, Sunday week it's on? Or?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. It's in Meath, isn't it?
Yeah, as soon as that starts, it's going to be shut down immediately. The first motion will be, we need to postpone this thing because the governance review group strategies just can't possibly have been implemented in time for the AGM. Total waste of time. And also we don't have the accounts. Also we don't have the Garda investigation. We don't have enough information to actually have an effective AGM. So he thinks it'll be shut down, but we will know soon what Conway's position will be, if he will have one. And then the other story on the back page of the Irish Daily Star is that Connolly must start for Dubs clash. So this is Kieran Donaghy and Paul Flynn letting their weight behind the idea of starting Diarmuid Connolly this weekend in Croke Park against Roscommon. I'd give Connolly a go, said Flynn. I'm hearing that he is ready and fit enough. He has come back into the fold. He has made a decision and has been accepted back. I'd expect Dublin to beat Roscommon, so you could let him kick 5 or 6 points. That would end the pressure and the questions about him, save Jim Gavin the hassle for the rest of the year. And then Kieran Donaghy says, I'd play Diarmuid Connolly. What's more, I think midfield is the spot for him.
Do you know what I think? Again, you listen to their lads, what those lads are saying is great. I'd definitely leave him on the bench and I'd bring him on in the game. And I think the reception that he'd get coming on would just lift everyone, and I think they'd actually take that on even into the next game. I think you'd get such a response with him coming onto the pitch that it would be incredible. When he starts, of course he'd get the reception, but you wouldn't get the same reception as him coming off the bench after 50, 60 minutes or whatever it would be. I think that would get much more of an impact on the team if that was to be the case.
There is the thing that's been spoken about, which is the likes of Bernard Brogan and other players who've been slogging it away and doing their thing, and suddenly here's Diarmuid Connolly rolling into town.
Tommy just reminded me of a very funny incident. It was the league final in 2017, I think, wasn't it? Or maybe it was a different game, or was it a Leinster game that summer when Eric Lowndes got brought on as a substitute for Dublin, and all the Dubs thought it was Diarmuid Connolly, and Lowndes got this massive reception, and then a couple of minutes later Connolly is actually the one that appears, and then he gets a massive reception again.
Right, the Irish Daily Mail, here's what's happening here this morning. He's got game. Is the reflections here on the golf. Lowry can take it to the final round, says McDowell, who's been reduced to a quote giver for other Irish players at the Open, which is an awful indictment of him, unfortunately, but it's a rough day for Rory as well, writes Philip Quinn there. And Donegal star suffers season-ending injury. This is bad news for Donegal and for Eoin Bon Gallagher, who it seems has broken his ankle in training during the week and is out for the rest of the season. Massive blow for them.
It's bad news for the football championship in general, I think. Absolutely fantastic player, was absolute stud to get, an all-star I would have thought, and that really kind of lessens the excitement for Sunday as well. Back page of the Sun is devastated, but Lowry doesn't let nerves bite. For our radio listeners, there's an 8 slap bang in the middle of devastated. 8 at first hole, 8 over par. Sad Rory's devastated. So a step to go then, says Owen Cowser as well. He has that story on Donald Conway too. And thank few, Stephen Bradley hailed the Shamrock Rovers side for bouncing back to keep the adventure alive.
Same again on Rory again here. I wanted to punch myself as a headline. I think it's just, I think when you see, listening to Rory there, that's in the indoor story as well, when you see Rory, you know, he's got to come out and he's got to, I saw his interview immediately on Sky when he's come off, and as I said to you, he kind of blew it in the last few holes because he chased it a bit too much, so he's blown it, and you wonder what he's thinking today when he's got to tee off, and it's almost as if there's no pressure on him. You could see him shooting 63, 64
There's
today.
maybe more pressure on him because he's like, I have to make the cut here. I wanted to punch myself. Must be in the running for Tab of the morning.
Yeah, but I can see him playing today with no pressure. He's done that before. Where he's played with no pressure and he'll shoot an unbelievable score because, I mean, it depends weather-wise. See how the weather holds up, and if it is decent conditions, he quite easily see him shooting a low score today. The
Irish Times is golf as well here. Philip Reid is at Portrush for the Irish Times. Holmes weathers the conditions on a cantankerous all day on the Causeway Coast, and a shot of a very focused looking Shane Lowry with Big Phil looking on. And Tiger needs BAM of treatment table rather than practice. This is poor old Tiger Woods, who's, it seems, struggling with the cold, is making the old injuries flare up on him a little bit. He says, what did he shoot in the end, Tiger?
7 over.
7. I think he was 4 over when I'd went out yesterday.
Did you see that piece during the week, the Wall Street Journal piece on Tiger Woods' statistics when the weather is bad? So since 2017, Woods has averaged 6th place in tournaments when the temperature is over 23 degrees Celsius, which is 75 Fahrenheit. A 24th place finish when it is between 65 and 75 Fahrenheit, and a 46th place one when it is below 65 Fahrenheit. So it was obviously a good deal colder than that.
I can totally see that could be. I'm a fair weather player, let's be honest now.
That could be, right, it could be anything. It could be to do with, like, his ball striking and the ball flight in warmer conditions.
Definitely to do with the cold, Adrian.
It could also be absolute bollocks.
No, but you know, how can it be? No chance, because he's got a bad back, and I have a chronic back injury. If my back is in bits this morning just getting out of bed, and now if we had temperature at 25, 26 degrees today...
Would you not think about moving to somewhere like warmer climates? Move yourself over to California.
Yeah, but
ESPN.
Do you think?
Off the ball US.
Fox in California.
Listen.
Yeah.
See, he's done his bit of research on. He's one other story of the Irish Times that we wanted to get to before.
Got a Skype call into Off the Ball.
Well, listen, we'll see what we can put together for you. One other story from the Irish Times that we wanted to bring your way here. Meads can take some heart from history with Mayo. This is Sean Bourne has written a lengthy piece about the history between these two counties, which Tommy is smiling.
Mayo have a history between every county, so you could list off another 10, 15 other counties, and Mayo have history there, don't they? So yeah.
It's not a huge amount of recent history was the main thing I took from that article. Tommy, is that what you were trying to point out? I don't know. He's grinning away there like a Cheshire cat, like as if there's some. It reflects amazingly on Meath, I presume. Yeah.
The Racing Post this morning goes with dangerous moment for racing, says ex-Sky Bet chief and Kerr to appoint caretaker manager next week. The back page then of the Racing Post is open and closed. Pre-tournament favourite McIlroy out to 400 to 1 after a horror first round.
A couple of euros on that, would you?
5 to 1 to make the cut.
Absolutely no chance.
5 to 1 to make the cut.
Yeah. It'll give you a good day's viewing, I guess.
I wouldn't back that. I wouldn't be touching that. No chance.
Well, he'd want the conditions to be absolutely horrific.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't tee off till 3:10.
Horrific in the morning. Decent. He wants decent weather the afternoon, doesn't he?
We all look like mugs when he goes out and shoots a good score.
He can have a shot.
Easily makes the cut.
I can't see it.
Not me.
I can't see it.
I'm just giving the odds on the neck mug.
I think this is your one as well. This is your headline that you love as well. iPhone 8. Rory hits fan on the way.
You were so bad for Adrian, that's the headline you were right.
That is right up your street as well, on his horror 8 at the first hole at Royal Portrush. The one thing as well we've maybe not touched on yet as well was the Daniel Sturridge has been hit with with many saying too lenient 75k gambling fine.
The FA wanted banned for 6 months.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, this is a historic one, isn't it, for him as well, or certainly over the last few years. This has been going on for a while when he got done, but now it's just come about, 75k gambling fine for him. So, is it too lenient? I don't know. I mean, they set a precedent by that. I mean, that's probably a week's wages to not even a week's wages.
He was going on loan to, it seemed like Seville at the time, told his brother and his uncle, I think, to get on it. And listen, if you lose out, I'll pay you back.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show, I know it's not the biggest part of the story at all, but it just goes to show how a player is so uninvolved with transfers sometimes.
Yeah.
That really, if you want to move somewhere, it's not all up to you at all. The clubs, the agents, whoever it may be, may scup for it. Granted, that is not the big part of the story.
Do you know
That's just one of the things that I took from it.
I'll take their own.
I understand that's maybe a bit too close to bone, but the amount of times you're chatting to people, like, so if we had anyone in here now today, if we got, say, who's out of contract, Glenn Whelan. If we had Glenn Whelan in the studio here today now, we'd be asking him any news, whatever it would be. We'd be asking him off, and if, you know, word gets around very quickly on these sort of things, don't they? Someone has, I mean, it's not right, but, and he's probably saying it's too close with it being his dad and his brother, but that sort of thing does happen, though. That happens.
Regardless of, this is also not the most important part of the story, but like, regardless of what your thoughts on it are, he's given it to one of his male relations, whose surname, I'm assuming, is the same as his.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
Are they not?
In one of the occasions, no, it's not a Sturridge.
Right. So one it was and one it wasn't.
I think so, yeah.
Well, it's maybe not the most
smart
thing in the world.
There you go.
Anyway.
And that's the one, again, Robbo tells Pogba just to focus on United, what we talked about earlier.
Yeah, there was a Leon Sturridge who was involved for sure. So
look at this grand that has come in for Daniel Sturridge to go to Seville. Oh.
Yeah.
It's from Leon Sturridge.
Yeah, but you know that as well. The bookies immediately are alerted any sort of bet on that type of market over 50 quid. They're alerted straight away to that, aren't they? They would know full well what could be happening there.
The back page of The Guardian this morning goes with McIlroy's nightmare. Disastrous first round 79 leaves open dream in tatters. You've got that Sturridge ban as well, and a bit of the netball too. Simon Yates then seals breakaway victory at Tour de France, which is hotting up at the moment. And the Daily Telegraph goes with McIlroy misery. Home favourite starts with nightmare 79 at Royal Portrush. Woods also feels the pain as doubts resurface over future.
Just one, can I just, obviously everything's dominated by Rory McIlroy, but this is the Times, this is the London Times here today, but there's one on Stan Collymore. Sol Campbell and Stan Collymore have been offered roles, were approached, in paid roles to be critics of the Qatar 2022 World Cup. So
what does that mean?
Well, what it is, there's a war going on over there, between the Gulf states. So one particular Gulf state, which I think is Abu Dhabi. I think I might be correct on that one anyway, because it's not in this first little bit here. But they've been employed, or they've been approached to be employed to be critical of the Qatar World Cup by a different Gulf state. So yeah, I
mean, there's plenty of reasons to be. I'm surprised that you would be required to be paid to fulfil that role, because there's plenty of reasons to be critical.
Well, I guess the thing is who's actually paying them is the story here, and whether or not they should be taking that money.
A couple of some other stories to bring away before we wrap up on the sports pages. Firstly, from the Irish News, we're going to take the front page here. Tyrone team bus singers cleared. This was obviously that high-profile story of the Tyrone players singing a rebel song on the bus in the last few weeks. And then on the back page of the same paper, it's golf all the way, and also that news about, very unfortunate news about Eoin Gallagher. That's the Irish News this morning. Gaelic Life, meanwhile, Kingdom Come. This is David Clifford. David Clifford's Kerry. Can we officially...
That's his team. It's his team.
Lovely to watch at the weekend. Brilliant to watch. There, up close as well. What a love. I even liked him. Saw him
through the tears.
Properly the first day. It was the tears, but even in the league final, when I'd seen him I'd seen him a couple of times up close, but first time I saw him was the league final, and even though Kerry lost that, he was brilliant to watch. His movement is great to watch. At the weekend, geez, what a player. What a player.
I think that is. Have we a couple of other red tops to bring your way just before we wrap up? This is some of the English papers. The Mir iPhone 8 that Kev mentioned just there a little while ago.
Is that the headline of the morning?
I'm giving it. I wanted to punch myself in the face just because. I mean, I know it's a direct quote, not strictly within the terms and conditions of Tab of the Morning, but it's an excellent quote.
Yeah, that's the interesting one there. Certainly on the Sturridge storm we talked about earlier, because if the FA, or if there's a bit of a backlash against that, you might see that ban extending. You could see that if they get any sort of maybe people on board trying to extend that ban for him or try to give him a ban. That's an interesting one. Maybe looking at going forward.
Yeah. All right, that's where we're going to leave the newspapers for you this morning. It is coming up on 8:05 on this Friday morning. We've plenty coming your way today. A lot of golf to chat through, and Ronan O'Neill on the Gaelic football as well, and Kev's thoughts on all the transfers and some other few bits and pieces as well. Besides the Sports Breakfast Show from Off the Ball, OTB AM, sponsored by Avantcard, which is powered by MasterCard, and we're back talking Super 8s after these.
Let's face it, the Irish summer has serious commitment issues. It's always late, disappears for weeks at a time, and consistently breaks its promises. But not us. At Electric Ireland, we're committed to giving you an 8.5% saving on your gas and electricity year after year after year after year. Visit electricireland.ie/join for the kind of commitment you deserve.
Estimated annual bill €1,736. Average consumption, urban 24-hour, discounted unit rate, standing charge, PSO levy and carbon tax. Residential, dual fuel, direct debit and online billing. Terms and conditions apply. See electricireland.ie/EAB. Rates at 1st of April 2019, subject to change.
And for pretty much everybody in the outside, it's an absolute guessing game as to when Diarmuid Connolly reappears, whether it's 10 minutes against Tyrone or whether maybe Jim Gavin has a moment in mind, much like the 2017 final against Mayo, that actually maybe he doesn't need Diarmuid Connolly at all unless a moment crops up in an All-Ireland semi-final or final that he needs that touch of class, that extra little bit of an X-factor of the unknown. Do you think Jim Gavin, being so meticulous, has a good idea right now of when Diarmuid Connolly plays?
No, but I think you're absolutely right. I think it's just, you never want to have regrets, and the ultimate fear for Dublin would be to miss out on this 5 in a row. Jim Gavin won't say that, but to miss out on another All-Ireland title and a historic 5 in a row, and maybe just at that critical moment where they're really under pressure, just feeling that on the bench there's not that star turn that he can turn to, just somebody to really change that dynamic, to unnerve an opposition who's really putting it up to them, to raise the fans. And just at that critical moment, if he doesn't have that, he would look back and regret if Diarmuid is there and has made motions to sort of that he's willing to come in and take part, and that he's playing at a level that he is useful. The big thing for me, and Pillar touched on it too, Jim Gavin has always stuck very much to players on form or playing, and you hold your jersey until anybody else gets a chance, and there's very much a pecking order. Everybody looking in from the outside can only imagine the intensity of them Dublin, say, AVB games if they do go down that route. There's a huge depth of really high quality players, so Diarmuid to come in and suddenly go above them players would sort of go against what Jim Gavin has set up, and yet you have to fast track him. You can't expect to throw him in when it really matters in an All-Ireland final if that comes to pass. So I think if Dublin are cruising through the rest of this year, which they might, it's a bad thought, but they might do that, then I don't think we'll see Diarmuid Connolly. But I think if their backs are to the wall, we will see him. But Jim Gavin knows you can't expect a player to come in, say, in a hypothetical situation in an All-Ireland final with 10 minutes, 15 minutes to go, without having given him a wee bit of game time earlier. So he might have to bend some of them rules to fast track Diarmuid up through and get him back in at county level pace so that he's ready come that emergency sort of parachute moment that Jim Gavin says, no, we need something different here.
Yeah, and the McGinley conversation with Nathan last night, it's fastly emerging as the most interesting story around Dublin at the minute. I'm delighted to say that Ronan O'Neill, who of course was part of the Tyrone panel up to earlier this year, joins us on the line now. Morning to you, Ronan.
How's it going? Not too bad.
Where do you sit on the Diarmuid Connolly argument before we get into Cork Tyrone? It's obviously Dublin Roscommon and Croke Park tomorrow night, and as I said, the most interesting angle on it is really the return of Diarmuid Connolly. Do you put him in? Where do you sit on it?
I suppose it's an interesting topic. For me, I would. It's a smart move, definitely. If you look back to Dublin, the league, they were probably caught a wee bit in some of the games in terms of Tyrone and a few other games as well. And Jim Gavin probably thought that maybe that they need him back this year especially when they're going for 5 in a row, such a massive thing to do. And as Enda was saying there, that maybe when he's looking back in the tight games, maybe in a semi-final or final, that the star quality has, that it could be a difference. If you look back in 2017 when he came back for maybe about 5-10 minutes against us in the semi-final, and then he came on in the final against Mayo, and he was the difference, to be honest, wasn't he? So I think it's a smart move, and I definitely think we'll see him, especially if Dublin beat Roscommon this Saturday and Tyrone beat Cork this Saturday, and both teams through the semi-final. You'll probably see him in Healy Park, I'd say. See him a bit of game time before a semi-final against whoever it may be. So I think it's a smart move. Timing probably is a bit of an issue. It's a bit strange probably, but the issue was going to America was probably the difference. Not getting the go, and then coming back, probably thought maybe those conversations had maybe right, okay, come back in and it was all you have for the rest of the year and then take it from there. So I was listening to an interview from Cian Dunne. He said that it was a smart move, but the timing was a bit off. But I would be in the same view as well.
Yeah, the strangest of the timing, Ronan, will be obviously that he, we're in the middle of July now, and obviously he hasn't played very much, and the other point being that obviously there's clearly a bunch of players who are involved in the squad who he may now end up leapfrogging over, and that may not create the best atmosphere maybe in the squad as well. So there is a potential that this thing actually maybe slightly unbalances this Dublin squad. Oh,
it definitely could. It could go either way, but I remember in 2008 McKee brought Steve O'Neill back for an All-Ireland final for 3 weeks to go, and it was seen as a masterstroke because of throwing on one All-Ireland. Stevie played a massive part in it. So I would imagine Jim didn't obviously bring him back in without consulting some of the players or had a meeting, and I'm sure the players agreed to have a player of Dermot's quality back in, and it obviously adds a bit more competition, a bit more bite to training, and it just obviously improved the whole squad as a whole. So I'm sure they had a conversation, and it was agreed by all.
What exactly is his best role? Where would you play him position-wise? Because Kieran Donaghy in the start this morning is saying that you should play him in midfield.
I suppose it's an interesting topic to talk about where his best position is. I know he was playing centre-half back for St Vincent's there for a while, in the club scene for a while, and probably that was maybe seen as a deep-lying playmaker maybe, and trying to set things up from there. Midfield probably would be an issue where he probably would get on a lot of ball. Some days maybe playing him full forward, especially against teams that maybe are a wee bit more open. Probably between full forward and midfield I would play him. That's what I would find as most effective. Maybe if he hasn't played the game in over a year, playing a full forward where he's not exposed to that energy level out through the middle third. He might be exposed a wee bit better there. I know he's an extreme athlete and he probably has the fitness levels, but he's been out for over a year, maybe playing a full forward for a while and then bringing him out the pitch and maybe alternating between the both.
Yeah, it seems that full forward option then would give Dublin a completely new possibility when it comes to, say, route one ball, something like Tyrone have started doing this year in particular. Like Peter Canavan was writing in the Irish Independent this morning about the role of the marquee forward, that despite the fact that we've moved towards more of a system-based form of Gaelic football these days, the role of the marquee forward is still an important one, even for a team that have the best system in the country, which is Dublin. That bit of flair, the bit of the unexpected is something that Diarmuid Connolly can bring on an effective level.
I definitely like you can have all the systems in the world, but you definitely need in them tight games in a semi-final and a final. You need that star quality probably to get you over the line, and obviously he brings that. And obviously the top teams are going to have that. So at the moment, Kerry have that with Clifford, and Tyrone have that with McSheahan at the moment, and Donegal have that with Jimmy Brennan and McBrady up front too. So obviously Dublin have their bundles of riches. They have Mannion up front. They've O'Callaghan, they have Costello, but I think Connolly just brings that extra little bit, that other teams probably don't really have at the moment. So Jim obviously realises that, and as Andy was saying, come the semi-final, when maybe want to draw, maybe come the last 10 minutes, maybe, or if it's a final, they know that they're back against the ropes, bringing that person on, that would probably could be a difference, could sway whether them winning 5 in a row or not.
Roland, can I just take you back? So you just said something earlier about the senior players or one or two of the players maybe being consulted by Jim Gavin, but how do you think the panel as a whole will react to Diarmuid Connolly coming back into the squad?
That is interesting. You know, obviously the boys in the fringes, boys who are probably pushing to get into maybe the match day 26, or boys who are outside that, or people who will be coming on, probably would be initially be annoyed. But that's just natural, because you know you've been training all year from November, December time. You did all the hard work, and you have this player here who's going to come in, and you're wondering to yourself, is he going to play? Is he going to take my spot? What's he going to do here? And you're just in a wee bit of limbo, like, and obviously I maybe can talk from experience. Like, you know, people just have come in, you know, out of nowhere and got the game time. But like, listen, it's part of the bigger picture probably, and some of the players probably would need to realise that as well. You know that it's not maybe, obviously you want to do well for yourself and you want to get game time as well. But Dublin are going for 5 in a row here, and you know teams are slowly but surely getting a wee bit closer to them. You know, and Jim Gavin obviously sees this as a massive opportunity maybe to make history, and having a player of German's quality.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you're right in saying that, but you can't take away the fact is that essentially you're all quite selfish. We're all quite selfish, and you just want to play. You're not necessarily seeing the bigger picture from it, are you? So that is where you'll get one or two of the fringe lads that aren't necessarily involved. They're coming off the bench. They're getting a bit of game time. It's going to affect those lads, the fringe players, more than the natural starting 15, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Definitely, there's no question about it, and that's where Jim's man management comes into play. Obviously, as well, and trying to keep everyone happy, and obviously, Enda was saying there too that you know he has had that ethos throughout his 5 years that if you have a jersey, you hold on to it. So it's up to him whether or not he goes against it and he brings Dermot in to a match day 26, or he puts him in straight away, or does he make Dermot work for it? And stick by it ethos and make sure the players he's been trusted from the start of the year are still there, and they get their match day game time, and it could be a massive distraction to the rest of the teams as well, thinking are they going to prepare for Diarmuid Connolly coming on maybe 10-15 minutes, or is Jim playing a master stroke here where he's putting his name out there and he's not going to play him at all. So yes, it's frustrating for people on the fringes too. Like, but as you say, we have to be selfish sometimes as well. But I think when you're outside that bubble, you think you maybe have to look at the bigger picture for the team aspect.
It's not inspiring you to make any calls, is it? It's not inspiring you to make any calls.
No, it's not. Not this year, anyway.
Talk to us about Cork Tyrone. You were obviously part of that team that did a 16-point demolition job on Cork, I think in Portrush maybe last year. They have a little bit of kudos in the bank, obviously, after the Munster final. It's hard to read too much, obviously, into last weekend than any team that plays Dublin. But what's your read on that game this weekend?
Again, it's interesting. A lot of people thinking that it could be a dangerous game for Tyrone, but I personally feel that Tyrone will beat them. I think they have too much. I definitely don't see it. The last 2 games that Cork have played, it's sort of been like an open game. Like Cork got through a number of times against the Kerry defence and probably should have had more goals than they did. And then the last day against Dublin plays sort of like man to man with Kane O'Sullivan sort of dropping off, and sort of like an open game too. But I can't see it being an open game at all. I think Tyrone, the way they've been playing, there's no more bodies behind the ball. I don't see the Cork forwards flourishing. I think Ronan O'Neill has been phenomenal so far this year. I say he'll pick up Brian Hurley, and Roy Byrne, since he came in the team, will probably pick up Mark Collins. And I think if you take them two boys out up front, I think they struggle big time for scores. And I say somebody will, like Kieran McGarry maybe, or if Potter Campbell comes back in the team, will do a job with Rory Dean out the pitch. So I can't see anything other than a Tyrone win, to be honest. Yeah,
it's like the group, actually, when you look at it, could turn out to be the opposite of what we kind of expected from the Super 8s, in that there'll be very clear top two and a very clear bottom two. Almost like it's kind of disappointing in some ways that it might be that way even before we get to the final round. Oh yeah, surely. The last day against Roscommon, that was probably the biggest game, because going away to Hyde Park and then coming back off winning the Connacht Championship, that was a massive game. I'm sure got over that. You know, I always thought that they would beat Cork, and then you go into a Dublin game looking to win, obviously, yes. I know McHale will obviously want to win the game, definitely, especially when it's at home. But you could try a different system out, you could try different players out, give players a run against a quality team to see
does he have options for later on in the year? So it has been a wee bit disappointing, yes, but obviously you'll have the 4 best teams then obviously in a semi-final then as well.
Just a quick question on what could be the game of the weekend, Ronan, on Donegal Kerry. You mentioned the marquee forwards that Donegal have. There's some interesting quotes from the Meath coach, Colm Nally, on the We Are Meath podcast. He says, I'm not saying Donegal are a one-man team, but they are the closest team I've ever seen to a one-man team. He says Michael Murphy was getting scores, then he was in the middle to catch the balls, and then at the end he was clearing the ball off the line. So I mean, if you put him in our team, which is the Meath team, I think you'd see a different result. Is Michael Murphy that much of a swing when it comes to 2 teams like that?
Yeah, listen, he's a fantastic player, you know, and personally myself, I'd love to see him at full forward a wee bit more, but obviously Donegal like to have him out in the middle of the pitch because he dictates the game out there too. You know, he's a bit of a playmaker. He's a great tackler of the ball too as well. So, and obviously he gets the scores too. But I wouldn't really say they're a one-man team. Paddy McBridy's come back in this year and he has added more scores than Jimmy Brennan has been playing the football of his life this year. Some of the young lads, Jason McGee and Nicole Langan, have been playing very well. Obviously, it's very unfortunate that Owen Byron Gallagher, he's broke his ankle now. And obviously, the Ryan McHugh then too. But I get what Colin has been saying. That if I say a number of teams, look, if they take Michael Murphy out, they'll go a long way to win the game. And I know against the Tyrone game, he was fantastic, but he was Patrick Hampshey's marking, and Patrick Hampshey wasn't fit that day, and he'd been struggling with injury since the end of the league. So he had a massive bearing on that day against Tyrone. But to say that they're a one-man team, I wouldn't really agree with that. You know, they have a number of bundles of riches around the pitch too. But I get what Colin's saying. If you take them out, personally, you might go a long way to maybe to beating them. Yes.
Is it too much of a stretch to say that? I mean, you mentioned Owen Byron Gallagher and the unfortunate ankle break that he's had, and it seems like his season is over. Obviously, is it too much of a stretch to say that his absence is ultimately a bit of a death knell for Donegal this year?
Probably yes. I think the last day they lost Paddy McGrath and your boy Paul Brennan came in too, and that upset them a wee bit as well, because Paddy McGrath is a great man marker at the back too, and they lost their bit of rhythm. I don't see really who would come in maybe at the wing half back who could add that quality for Owen Byron Gallagher. So there's another man marking half back, especially against a Tyrone or a Kerry or a Dublin who they're going to face. So I think that Donegal will badly miss his absence. Yes. Yeah,
that's Sunday 4:00. Who are you going for in that one?
I'm going to go for Kerry that one. I think they were massively impressive down in Killarney against Mayo. I think their forwards, they just have a bit too much up front for Kerry. They do at the moment, and just the way they've been playing. Obviously, Donegal have been playing well too. They struggled a wee bit against Meath. They got over the line at the end. Yes, Meath sort of tired towards the last 10-15 minutes. But I just think the way Kerry performed the last day, they showed a massive hunger, the appetite, will to win, and obviously they'll just bounce off that, feed off that, and bring it into Croke Park on Sunday again. Yeah, I know we won't know the actual answer to this for a number of weeks, but we'll hypothesise a small bit, if you will. Are Kerry that good or Mayo that bad? That is a tough one. Mayo, well, you have to look. Mayo have been playing maybe 5-6 weeks in a row there. They lost Keegan, they lost Paddy Durkin. They have a number of injuries around the middle of the field. They've been hanging on. They probably should have beat Armagh. They should have. I think they were just a team that have just got to where they're capable of at the moment. And Kerry, and I think all week, Kerry have been saying that Killarney was a massive game for them, and they were totally up for it. And Mayo gone down there. It was like Tyrone versus Kerry in 2012. They just went into a total ambush, and the Kerry won. Players and management and fans were totally up for it, and I couldn't see other than a Kerry win. But I wouldn't say Mayo were that bad. I think they were totally tired. They had a few injuries. They lost Diarmuid Connolly too, Matthew Ronan, which were massive. And I know they talked about their strength and depth as well, but losing them players is massive for them, and they obviously couldn't replace them. But the way Kerry have been going to, they've been very impressive. Their forwards are deadly. They seem to have tightened up their defence the last day too. So obviously the biggest test would be this weekend too against Donegal for them. If they come through that, then I think they'll get their answer out of that.
Yeah, all right, good stuff, Ronan. A pleasure. Thanks a million.
No problem. Hey, thank you very much. Cheers.
Ronan O'Neill on the line there, looking ahead to the weekend of Super 8s. Are Kerry that good or are Mayo that bad?
Great question.
And it's obviously neither of them. It's somewhere in the middle.
I think so. I think somewhere as well.
Like I said before I asked the question, you won't know the answer.
You say it with a little smirk on your face, and when the camera's not on, you kind of look.
Well, you see, both of you have an agenda, so there's actually no point even asking.
If you look at it,
you have an agenda.
If you look at it properly, I mean, Kerry aren't going to put up 15 points in a half of football again this summer. It was like playing against a Division 2 team in that first half.
So Mayo are that bad, is what you're saying?
No, Mayo aren't that, but Mayo were just bad on the day.
Like as I said, it was like playing against a Division 2 team. As we well know, Mayo are not just a Division 1 team, they won Division 1 this year.
Yeah. I was talking to a well-known Kerry footballer after the game, and he said when he saw the conditions, he knew that Kerry would win that game. The kicking game was always going to come into it. Mayo's running game was never going to survive in that. What
are you smirking about?
It's so easy to be wise after the fact.
It is, but no, he said it before the game. He said it to me, but he said before the game, I just strongly fancy Kerry to win well in the game.
Bomber, was it?
What?
The bomber.
Just
wow, got it in one.
Did I?
No. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Darren O'Sullivan. Try to think of what circles you might mix in. Joe Molloy, good morning to you.
How you doing? Yeah, it was Darren O'Sullivan for sure.
How are you getting on?
Yeah, great. Oh, good. How you getting on?
Are you at home or are you in Portrush?
At home. I came home last night. Believe it or not, I'm golfing with Kevin Kilbane later.
Right. I would well believe it. It's not a thing I need to get my head around at all, I have to say. How was it yesterday?
Yeah, it was great. Brilliant crowds. 237,000 across the week, and so it's jam packed. Logistics all good. The course holding up brilliantly, like exactly how they would want it. Paul Casey was saying that it just, already it's like in his top 2 open courses, and he's played them all, obviously, at this stage. He's a big Harry Colt fan who designed it. And he was saying, like, they can make it a bit tougher if they want. They can make it easier. It was one of those weird days where, like, out of every hour, it was nice and sunny for about 45, 50 minutes. And then for the other 10 minutes, it absolutely lashed down and was kind of miserable. But that was okay. On the whole, a brilliant day. Like, here's the amazing thing about that course. You had the lowest score in one hole was a hole in one. And then you had a 13 as well. So there was everything and anything. It was very fair, very scoreable if you were playing well. And it was absolutely vicious and found you out if you weren't playing well. And then you had this mad injection of drama when Rory McIlroy starts off in the first hole. Bad in the long term, but obviously in the short term, it made the whole thing so compelling right from the off.
Well, you're talking about like everything they've got right there this week and how brilliantly everybody's speaking about and all the planning they could have done over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years or more to get this thing right. And yet, the fact that Rory McIlroy did what he did in the space of 5 seconds almost feels like it's burst the bubble a small bit.
A little bit, yeah. Do you know, is this mad thing where I only arrived yesterday and you walk around and you meet people and it's the first thing anyone was saying to each other. It was like, how are you? Jeez, what about your man? It was like at a funeral. It was like the same kind of conversation over and over again. It was just unbelievable. I'm sure everybody's seen it at this stage. Like, to shoot an 8 on the first hole. He's been thinking about that tee shot for 4 years. That is the terrible part of it for McIlroy, when this thing was all announced. I'm sure he thought about trying to get himself into contention in this tournament early and do well at this tournament. He said just last week this would be the pinnacle if he was to win here, even better than, Grand Slam, Augusta. This would be the pinnacle to win the Open here. And golf is such a cruel sport and the margins are so fine. He played a practice round on the Wednesday. He came in and spoke to us afterwards and he said he played a practice round on the Wednesday and he went OB right on the Wednesday. So, it can happen, and it's a strange kind of funky hole that there are out of bounds there, internal out of bounds, unusual things. So he went OB right on the practice day, and he said just on the tee, it crossed my mind. Crossed my mind this time yesterday, I went OB right. So, as he was saying, I just turned my hand a touch, just right hand a touch, just to guard against going right, to just guide it left, and it didn't take much. Hit some woman's cell phone on the way down, or a mobile phone on the way down, broke her phone, and then trickled out OB. And from there, it was car crash stuff. And he said afterwards, in a weird way, it was such a disaster making that 8. So, he gets up, has to take another drop, chips on, this is the putt for 7. it was such a disaster. He said it almost calmed me down, as in,
I don't know.
like
I don't know, Joe.
mean,
It's a classic Rory McIlroy thing to say, isn't it?
Joe, do you think he put too much?
Say some funny things.
Joe, do you think he put too much pressure on himself though in the build-up? We were talking about it earlier in the build-up, and not just the Open here. The majors, my recent memory of his major build-up has been putting a little bit too much pressure on himself. The ads come out this week, all this sort of thing. That's my feeling of it overall.
He was asked that. I mean, it's the obvious kind of conclusion when you look at his form, because I mean, just if you're only looking at the majors, you might think McIlroy's not having a great season. He's having pretty much the best season of his career. Like statistically, every shot, every area of the game, he's won twice. He won the Players. Like he's better than he was in 2012. He's better than he was in 2015. So you would have to conclude there is something a little bit gone awry at the majors. Pressure is going to be one of those things. Brando Chambly was on the Golf Channel yesterday, and he said, let's call it what it is, it's choking. He's choking at these things, because he said as well, too often, and people will know this, especially like there's a lot of people who have bets on McIlroy at events, and they know this happens all the time. Chambly was saying too often he makes an absolute hames of the first round, terrible, and then on the Sunday when he goes out early in the morning, tied for 35th, not really in the competition, shoots a blistering 62, and on paper it's like McIlroy finished tied for 7th at another major, but he was never really in the tournament. He was never really likely to win, and so he's doing that a bit too often as well. And there is no reason why he's shooting a horrible 78, 79 one day on the first day when the pressure's on quite often, and then when the pressure's off on a Sunday shooting a 62, which he often does, because it's the same technique. Yeah, he's the same player. You have to deduce that there is something mental going on with them, and I don't know. He doesn't seem to love the sports psychology route. He talks about reading a lot of self-help books at the moment. He works with Brad Faxon on his putting, and Brad Faxon's a big disciple of Bob Rotella, the psychologist. So maybe through Brad Faxon, he's trying to pick up nuggets. But it's a real worry. It's now, I was going to say 5 years. It's now 6 years. It's now going to be 6 years before he tees it up at the Masters next year without a major. He may, over the next 230 odd days, really have to sit down, really be honest with himself, Kev, and say, yeah, there is something happening at these majors that I'm not quite getting right, and I do need to go and see someone, or I do need to do something about it. Now, look, he's going to know that more than me. I don't know what's gone wrong. But certainly on the outside, there's a fairly well-entrenched pattern now, which he's going to have to look at, because what happened yesterday was terrible, really.
Is he too easy on himself, Joe? Because you talk about that idea of the brilliant 62 on the final day when he's not in contention, and it kind of adds a gloss onto his performance at the end of the weekend. Is he buying into that gloss? Like, I mean, looking at his quotes yesterday evening and stuff, like initially I thought fair play to him for cracking a joke about it, but the more you think about it, the more you're like, why isn't this guy a little bit harder on himself? Why isn't he showing a bit more negativity? I know it's a terrible thing to say in the aftermath of a disastrous round.
I know what you mean. I really do know what you mean. It's this weird thing where, like, because he said as well, I've got to keep my perspective on life, and I'm happy, and my friends don't think any less of me, my family don't think any less of me. I'm going to go and have dinner, and I just got to go again. And it's such a brilliant perspective. Like, he's so right, and he shouldn't be completely defined by it. And yet, with so many of the great champions, you could imagine their reaction if they had done what he had just done in the press conference. They would have been fuming.
Quietly, though,
out the window.
Quietly, you assume that he is beating himself up over it. Like, I wanted to punch myself in the face. I mean, that's pretty.
Yes,
in terms of
true. That's true, and we can be very harsh on Rory. There's no doubt, me more than anyone, because there's so much talent. Like, funny enough, he said what bothered him more than the OB on one was the 3-putt on the par 3 16 calamity, where he had, there's that dreadful moment. I'm sure people have seen it. Hits the first putt near, misses the second putt, and then, in his own words, he lost concentration. He was berating himself over missing the second putt, that he missed the one coming back, and made an unforgivable 5, or to use his word, inexcusable. He said it was just inexcusable. So he doesn't totally give himself a free pass. Maybe he doesn't beat himself up to the extent that others do, and he's not a tortured soul. He's definitely not a tortured soul. And he will digest this relatively quickly. The mad thing, and you get all different types. I was saying to Nathan last night, Paul Casey was playing with Rory, and there was this lovely thing where there was about 5 of us who just, everyone was waiting for Rory, so we were just chatting to Paul Casey, And I was sort of saying to him, geez, when you think about it, like OB left, OB right, that's a tough tee shot. Like, were you sitting there a little bit nervous as well? And he sort of smiled and he said, I've got to be honest. And he said, like, this isn't good, but I didn't know there was OB on the first until Rory hit it out there. He said, I'm going to know tomorrow.
Thanks for the heads up, mate.
Yeah, no, totally. He looked at me and said, thanks for that, though.
Yeah. One last one on Rory. Just what's going to happen to him today? Because we've just been debating sort of his reaction to this. Like, he could easily go out and make mugs of us all and get himself back to level par or something approaching it. What's the expectation from him today? Who knows?
Like, who knows? He could do one of both, couldn't he? What he certainly said was, I'm probably out of the tournament. I have to concede that. You're not going to win it after shooting a 79. But I desperately do want to go out, shoot a good round, be around for the weekend. I think he's acutely conscious that him not being here for the weekend is not great for Portrush and the memory of the tournament and for fans coming. So, look, I put it this way, and we'll get on to Tiger, I'm sure. Tiger Woods has already booked his private jet. I mean, I would say he's getting from the 18th string to that car. He's going to be in Florida before, most people get home from Portrush this evening. Whereas I got the distinct impression Rory is very, very keen to try and fight very hard and hang on for the weekend. And look, it wouldn't surprise me if somehow he has a great weekend and ends up in the top 20, because he is playing great golf.
Did you see much of your sporting idol yesterday?
Yeah, it was amazing. Look, he was 90% of the reason I was going up. It's kind of terrible in a way, but you get to see other people a bit more often. So I drove up because you get the one bit of access you get is to stand maybe 10, 15 metres from the guys when they warm up. So you get 2 hours about 10 feet from Tiger Woods, and that was kind of enough of a deal for me. Chipping away, putting, like, it is mad, the phenomenon of Woods, when the first time he walks by a bunch of 5-year-olds who are saying, Tiger, 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 you think, oh, Tiger, come on, would you not? And then when you spend half an hour with him, you realise it's just a weird existence. I mean, the amount of people just swarming on him, his every move, camera phones go straight up. It's so intense around him, even around the putting green and the chipping green. But it's great to watch him go about his business, because he is iconic. Whether you like him or not, he is a man apart, and everybody recognises that. The mad thing was, I could have told you before his round it wasn't going to go well. No exaggeration, and it was really sad to see it. So he goes through his warm-up. You start off with wedges, grand. The irons looked okay, but then he took a fairway metal and he topped it, no exaggeration, 5 or 6 times. Like, he was trying to hit this high cut with the fairway metal, and he must have just, like, 100 yards lower or along the ground to the left. Like, the gallery kind of watching in the distance at the range kind of went, ugh. And it was about 10 to 3. He was teeing off at 10 past 3. You're pretty close, so you can kind of hear. And you're not eavesdropping. I mean, he knows people can hear. But he did turn around to his coach, I'm not sure who that was yesterday, and Joe LeCava, his caddy, and he sort of said, like, what do you think? This is 10 minutes before you're about to tee off at the Open. And the coach kind of stepped in and gave him something. And, he hit 1 or 2 okay ones after that. But, like, they hop in the buggy and they're still kind of in deep conversation. And I was walking behind trying to, I was going to follow them on. But you can hear his arrival at the first, and the crowd are giving him this huge welcome. And it was this amazing moment where I was thinking, he knows, he's got this weird thing where he's got to wave to the crowd, and he knows he doesn't have it. And, like, he duly didn't. And look, speaking to people who know more about the swing a lot more about the swing than me, quite clearly, they were saying he wasn't turning through the ball well enough with his body. And when that happens, you get out of sync. You have to start saving it with your hands. He was turning a lot of them left. He's not right, his body is definitely not right. People say, oh, it's a bit cold. It's not that cold. Like, if he can't play in what it was yesterday, kind of mid-teens, high teens, he can't play in a lot of places. The Masters, it looks increasingly like the Masters was the high point. That was it. Like, if you were a Tiger fan, you got that big bash return, and that was amazing. And it's very hard to imagine him now doing much else.
That sort of level of scrutiny, it's like having coffee with Kevin Kilbane, the constant selfies, Joe, yourself, the autograph requests. It's just an uncomfortable existence. I'm just talking to Kev sometimes, and I just want to say to the public, can we have 5 minutes? Just give me a minute with my friend here. Come on. Just give me a minute with him. Keep the man alive. Absolute tool.
And then what's it like out of the office, Joe?
Here, Shane Lowry, Joe, obviously is maybe the only Irish player under par after the opening round, and is a guy who's shown a bit of form, obviously, in majors, and maybe he's at that point of his career now where he's actually ready to go and get this.
Yeah, you hope so, don't you? Birdies on 3, 5, 9, 10, 12. just the one bogey on 11. Peter Lowry was saying the other day that the greens are like kind of 10 and the stimpmeter that bit slower. That'll suit him. You know, he can be a bit aggressive with his putt and doesn't have to worry about a horrible 5 or 6 footer coming back the other way. Like McGinley was saying it yesterday on TV, everybody underestimates how good a player Shane Lowry is. Brilliant ball striker. Like, and then around the greens, touch and imagination and feel and all the stuff you need for links play. He had a great first round at Lahinch 2 weeks ago and then was physically sick on the course the next day, and that derailed him somewhat. It was very interesting afterwards yesterday. You know, shoots this 67. He's tied for second. By the way, I'm glad he's not top of the leaderboard. I just think that would have been too much pressure to try and go wire to wire. Better off sleeping on the lead as few nights as possible in my book. But he was saying the night before yesterday, so Wednesday evening, he wasn't feeling good mentally. His practice hadn't gone well. He wasn't feeling comfortable. So he rang up his coach, Neil Manship, and they met for a coffee for about 45 minutes and hashed everything out, talked about everything. What if you, well, not that this should become a saying, what if you have a Rory McIlroy on the first hole? What if you're leading? What if this happens? What if that happens? How are you going to cope? What's the reaction going to be? And he came away from the coffee feeling a little bit more at peace. Okay, worked through this a bit more, a bit relaxed, and went out and played great stuff. It's not the first time, or I suspect the last time, that Neil Manship has been very good at just getting Shane that bit calmed down and in a good place when he can play his best golf, and his best golf is excellent. Because you know yourself, Shane is very much of Ireland, so he feels the Portrush thing as much as McIlroy, as much as McDowell and Clark and all these guys. He feels that it's an Irish. It's interesting. It felt like an Irish Open, a big Irish Open, just full of Irish people. You know, it doesn't have that international feel that it would have for us when we usually go. So I think he feels all that, and he played really well. As you said, Adrian, his form is good. He's won in Abu Dhabi. He was good at the Irish Open. Again, it's another calm day. Go out, try and do your best stuff. There's going to be bad holes out there, but you would not be surprised to see him in the mix on Sunday. He's at that stage in his career. He's at that age now.
Where are you playing today?
Keith Andrews is going to take us out to Portmarnock Links.
Did you get the invite on?
The hotel.
I did not. What's
At least you don't play golf. I mean,
what's the over-under off the first tee? Is it above or below 8?
Who's hitting, Kev?
Can I tell a little story on Shane Lowry as well?
Absolutely.
Right, so I met him about 3 or 4 weeks ago, just after the US Open. So I was down at the K Club. I wasn't actually playing golf. I was just there for extracurricular activities, you know. But anyway,
I don't know what that means.
I was down there. So as I was sat in the clubhouse there at the K Club, Shane Lowry walks in, and it was the weekend after. So it was only 3 days after the US Open. So he went to San Francisco for 2 or 3 days after the US Open. He flew back into Dublin on that Wednesday morning, and he only had 1 day in his schedule to fill in for a charity golf 3 or 4 ball that he'd give up the year before. He had 1 day in his schedule across this summer to fulfil this commitment. And he went down to the K Club that day and he played in a 4 ball where it was pissing rain, lashing rain, I mean ridiculous weather. He stuck to his commitment, played in the round of golf with these lads that he'd given up at a charity day to fill it into the schedule before he could obviously practice ahead of the Open, practice ahead of other tournaments. So I think it shows what a decent fellow he is actually. They actually fulfill that commitment and went and played golf that day as well. So
it's a lot of that sort of traits that people want.
He is, but it's
the reason people want to see him get over the line.
What a man. I was mightily impressed with that, particularly after that US Open as well, yeah.
It might well be the most celebrated Irish sporting moment if he wins since Robert Grady's goal.
You know, if ever there's a man that you'd want to win, it's him, isn't he? I'd be desperate for him to win, particularly with his start anyway.
Enjoy it, Joel. Thanks a million.
All right, fellas.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Cheers, John. Line there after day 1 of the Open. So plenty more conversation on that to come. We're going to have John Duggan as well. We're going to talk football though next. Do keep your comments coming into us here on OTB AM, whether you're listening or watching on the Go Loud app or on offtheball.com or whatever platform you're watching on this morning. We're delighted to have you along with us. It's coming up on 8:45. Do keep your comments coming in. We're going to be back with football in just a moment. First though, have a look at this. It's Vinnie Perth joining Nathan on last night's Off the Ball to talk about the call that he got, the FaceTime that he got after Dundalk's win in Europe on Tuesday night.
So obviously it's this momentous night and this emotional occasion, and you're walking off the pitch and you've just achieved something big for Dundalk this season, and then you look at your phone and Jose Mourinho's face is there. What happened?
Yeah, that was a strange one, because I think generally I'd be sort of known, I think, as a private person, particularly, I suppose, while working under Stephen. I just felt a good assistant is sort of not seen. I used to ask people, who's the assistant manager at Manchester United or Chelsea or Man City at the time, and no one ever really knew the names. Some people did and didn't. I just believe that was the way an assistant should act. So then to be for this to happen, it actually happened in front of a couple of journalists. I think Paul O'Hare was there, and so I had to get out, and it's very open, and I think people have heard about it now. But yeah, what I found fascinating was Jose had watched the game, and he spoke about some of the tactical side of it. He spoke about the change we made with Murray. So it was it took my breath away. I didn't expect it. It definitely came out of the blue. I knew for a while he has been interested in what we're doing at Dundalk, and he has sent some texts and different bits and pieces before. So to get a phone call off him on a night like that, where unfortunately for me, it's very obvious. I was very emotional at the time, and a couple of the interviews, I never got a minute to calm myself down. So it was probably heard in my voice, and then to hear from someone like from Jose at that stage, probably it was very emotional, and it was a good moment, and it was one I'll probably never forget.
Vinny Perth there in conversation with Nathan on Off the Ball last night. You can get the full piece back on youtube.com/Off the Ball. It is time now, though, for Deal or No Deal.
Nino, potrebbe essere Pogba il prossimo. Adesso questo già fatto.
All hail our Deal or No Deal godfather, Mino Raiola. Kevin Kilbane, we are starting this morning with Arsenal. Charlie Nicholas has said Wenger would help Arsenal land top talent. So Charlie Nicholas, speaking on the Sky Sports Transfer Talk podcast, says, sometimes I like to throw an idea in every now and then, like we all do. It's not just because I'm trying to be controversial, but Arsene Wenger has been out of a job for a long time. Now, Arsenal tried to keep him as a director of football or under hierarchy because he can help guide us in case there was trouble that was going to be there for the club. He then references the likes of Rummenigge, Beckenbauer, Manchester United having Alex Ferguson, Liverpool have Kenny Dalglish. We missed out on that because Arsene said he wanted to take a break, but he's out of a job for a long time. I would have simply said, well, why don't you go after Arsene Wenger when it comes to the director of football?
But what's the point in getting Arsene Wenger in when there's no money available? So who are you going to get in? What difference is Arsene Wenger going to make if you're going to... I mean, he might make the difference on an up-and-coming player that you're in a bidding war of 10, 15, 20 million where you've got to make a choice and Wenger's there, and you might have, you could essentially have been a Wenger fan or an Arsenal fan over the years. But the level that the top 4 clubs in the Premier League, the top 6 clubs are actually looking at now, he isn't going to make a difference because Arsenal don't have the spending power of the other 5. So, well, Chelsea, of course, the band that they have, but certainly 4 of those 6 anyway. So it wouldn't make any difference, would it?
Is it true at this point that Arsenal are losing out in bidding wars for younger players? And if those younger players are seeing somebody like Arsene Wenger as the person who's overseeing a lot of the operations at the football club, that they might actually edge for Arsenal?
If that is the case and Arsene Wenger comes, I think he still has that aura, he'd still have that sort of personality that would, if he went to meet you, say, I don't know, you're a Swiss international, whatever it would be, whatever country you're from, and he flies in to meet you, it would have that. It was the same with Alex Ferguson. He had the same sort of feeling when a youngster wanted to sign for, or was going to sign for 2 or 3 clubs. Ferguson shows up. We know famously with Roy Keane how it happened when Kenny Dalglish had met him. They'd had the deal agreed to go to Blackburn, and Ferguson shows up, and that's it. The deal's done for Ferguson. So he would still have that sort of allure anyway. But as I'm saying, if the level that Arsenal are looking to compete at now, it's not necessarily the youngsters they're looking to get in.
Well, the guy that just signed Saliba is going back on loan immediately to San Etienne.
40, 60 million available across the summer, apparently, allegedly.
2 18-year-olds signed this summer. Not exactly amazing business. I think they can save it eventually. We'll see how the rest of the window goes. Yeah. We do want to get your take on Liverpool because they've been almost absent from the transfer talk merry-go-round. They've fallen short fairly comprehensively to Manchester City in terms of signing players this summer. But they're Champions League winners. Should Liverpool fans be concerned?
No, not necessarily. I read a piece yesterday in the London Times. It was by Paul Joyce, actually, talking about the squad that they've got, the players that they've got coming back in to the squad that weren't necessarily available across the whole of the year. And he mentioned Oxlade-Chamberlain within that. He mentioned Joe Gomez within that as well. So they do have 1 or 2 players that's going to come back in and be fully fit now, essentially. Going across this season. So no, Liverpool, if necessary, I think they'll probably sign in January if they want to sign anyone if the season isn't going the way that it will plan. I think they're in a very, very good position. I think there's a great feeling around the team. There's a great feeling around the club. Everyone's got on board with what Klopp is trying to implement there. So no, I don't necessarily see major problems there.
They're not very injury-proof, though, are they?
No, well, that's the thing. I mean, do I see them being... City have obviously signed now, and they probably will sign again. So City might be able to stretch clear. Liverpool don't have that sort of spending power. They simply don't. No one else has that spending power. So it's about trying to keep that togetherness there that Liverpool have, which Klopp will generate that anyway. And there'll be one or two more additions that will come in across the year, across the season, whether that'll be now in this window or into January. But that'll be the case, I think, with Liverpool. I think they're in a strong position as it is, yeah, I do.
Right, so no need to be concerned.
No, I don't think there's a panic there, no chance.
Let's turn to Manchester United. Solskjaer.
Panic there, yeah, panic if you're Man United, yeah.
Saying he wants to build a team around Paul Pogba. So should we be taking this at face value, Kevin, or is that something that a manager has to say?
I think he's saying that. I think he's playing the game. Clearly there's an agenda with Mino Raiola, his agent, and Man United as a club. He's trying to push for a move, Raiola. He's trying to get him away. And Solskjaer's playing the game. They're trying to get the as much money if he were to move. And if that deal can't be done, if they can't get it over the line, and Pogba then is sat at United come September, where does that leave him? He has to say the right thing, Solskjaer, within this. If there's a deal on the table and there's the money that United want, I think they'll do it quickly. I think they will get rid if that deal can be done.
I'm kind of looking at this in both ways. First of all, you could look at it as a manager who's getting the runaround from a player and has forgiven him. Otherwise, you're looking at a manager who's actually strong enough in himself to actually say, you know what, I'm fine with that. I may have looked like a fool, but I know the truth here. I'm not a fool. And I'm going to be strong enough to actually proceed with Paul Pogba. Does Solskjaer come out of this in a much weaker position or a stronger position?
I personally just think he's playing the game a little bit. I think he's saying the right things publicly.
If he gets rid of him, he's ultimately, no matter what the optics are, if he gets rid of him, he's going to be in a stronger position either way.
I think so.
Because he's a bad influence out of the dressing room.
Yeah, I think that. I agree with that. I think if he's gone, if Paul Pogba's gone, I think he will look better. I think from what we all perceived, I think we know there's a problem. I think everyone that's watching United over the last couple of seasons know full well that Paul Pogba is the problem. They can't seem to fit him into the system that United play. Certainly didn't fit him into a Jose Mourinho system where you have to be a lot more disciplined. Solskjaer has gone in there now, he gave him a bit more freedom, scored a few goals, but United are lacking in many areas and they need, I would feel, more disciplined players than Pogba would be able to provide. There's not enough quality around him that can give Pogba the luxury of going and playing a freer role.
How long before Solskjaer's in trouble as Manchester United manager?
2 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be quickly, isn't it?
Is he going to be there come Christmas?
If United are struggling and they're mid-table Christmas time, then there will be serious questions. Yeah, if United are struggling Christmas time and they're not looking like they're going to qualify for the Champions League next season and they're struggling overall, I think they'll make a change.
We forgot that people were calling for his head, obviously, for the last few weeks of the season, that people wanted him out of there.
Were they?
United fans.
Were they?
Not well, maybe not.
Ah, come on now.
There would have been
you come out with these comments sometimes. Honestly. Is there any substance to that?
So when he got the gig, right, the clamour for everybody to give him the gig, and then everything went so brilliantly for whatever the first couple of months, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then everything went to shit.
Yeah. But that was
we've forgotten about that.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone's forgotten about it. I think we know that it's still in the balance whether or not we think he's going to be a success there. I'd probably say that with that team, with that squad, he needs massive changes. There's got two centre halves, midfielders in there. They need probably another striker. They need someone that's going to provide a creative box. You're looking at 5 or 6 players in there. United look like they won't sign the calibre of player that's needed before the transfer window closes. So,
well, then it doesn't matter how good he is what is the point.
Definitely. You need someone that's going to come in with a dramatic overhaul of the club, that's going to change the whole coaching structure, a different sort of structure across the club. Needs probably to be implemented. It's not going to be the case. It's not going to happen. So we may look at United in 2 years' time being in the same position they are now. That's the way that it's probably going to be for United.
It's time to turn on the teletext and see what transfer rumours are doing the rounds. We're winding things this morning back to 1995. Have a look at this.
It's slow. It's teletext. So it's slow.
Teletext. The page is loading. Here we go. It is teletext. I was worried it'd be CFAX there for a moment, but it is teletext. Bergkamp in for Inter. This is summer of 1995. Zidane to Rovers. Baggio in, Hughes out, Shevchenko interest, Yeboah in for £3 million. You're going to have to...
Kincladze, now you see that name, Georgie Kincladze, what a player he was.
Finalised, yeah.
Brilliant.
Collymore record fee and Sheringham interest.
Kinchelskis is a blue, did great for Everton as well when he went in there, Andrew Kinchelskis. Great names.
What were they all on page 121 mainly? What's the 121?
141.
There used to be, there was teletext and CFAX, wasn't there? Was CFAX.
Well, why is there 2 different page numbers? All right, yeah, that's just...
Yeah, 140 was football, and then you got all the headlines, and then the main page then you went to and you got... That's it.
There's some brilliant rumours in there, brilliant signings obviously, Bergkamp coming in that summer. Zidane to Blackburn would have been quite something.
Yeah, I know. Look at that one there as well for Newcastle, look at the level that they're at. Les Ferdinand joins Magpies, Hadji to follow. Look where Newcastle were then. It's incredible, isn't it? But for Badge, I mean Zidane, you're saying there, imagine Zidane, that'd be a classic, wouldn't it?
You've got to say the signing of that summer is Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah.
One of the signings of the decade. If you just put that back up for one more moment, the other one there.
So what year was this? 95?
95. Yeah. Baggio in, Hughes out. That's the sort of level of transfer rumour that this summer of 2019
I was at YTS then. I was YTS at Preston. Was I 17? Would have been 17, 16.
How come you didn't make it onto that screen? There's been plenty of teenagers.
I was playing the old Division 3 League 2 football at that stage. I hadn't even made a first team appearance at that stage.
We're going to move on to...
So around that time, obviously there was a lot, like from the evidence of our amazing teletext graphic there, about a lot of the Europeans starting to come to England probably at that point in a way, like the tap had been turned on in a way that it hadn't been previously. And obviously around the time that Cantona came in, and a source had informed us earlier on today that when Cantona was out serving his Kung Fu ban, he had done a little few sessions behind closed doors.
Games, yeah.
A few games behind closed doors. Had you heard anything about this?
Yeah. I participated in one of these games, Adrian, yeah. Well, it was what they did. United arranged a series of games which actually were... They couldn't be... Because you'd always arrange friendlies around the time, because, say you've got trial players or whatever it would be, so Preston, it would be probably Sam Allardyce would be my youth team manager. They'd ring Barry and say, look, can we get a game? And you'd go across and play a game. So United arranged a load of games. They played Rochdale, Bury, Bolton, all the Northwest clubs, probably Blackburn, and then they played us, Preston. So I was a young was I 17? I was a young YTS player, so we went over with a team. I was one of the ones...
Where did you play?
Carrington, yeah. Played at Carrington, played against Cantona, yeah. Wow. So it was great, yeah. It was great for us all.
I presume that was the talk going over. That was the only talk, was it?
Oh yeah, I mean, and we couldn't have an official referee, so it had to be someone from Man United, one of United's, the physio or whoever, one of the coaches that would referee the game. 2 lads on the touchline without flags. It couldn't be classed as an official game or anything. So it was just kind of supposedly a training session.
What was he like?
He didn't move much. He didn't really run around much, no, but he just shot a few touches, didn't he? We were just on the pitch with him, wasn't it? Everyone was just kind of watching him in awe. I don't even know what the score was, actually, how it went, but Cantona didn't move around too much. It was just great to get over and get a game and play against Cantona.
Did you ever word at him? How's the band going? How are you feeling your days?
No, I was just looking at him. That was it. I was a young, shy boy then, Adrian, you know.
Yeah, I'm not having that. Was there anybody else in that team that we should know about? Was there...
What's the Irish boy, Desi Baker? Desi Baker would have been playing in that side. I think he actually played up front with Cantona in that game, yeah, I think, yeah. So he was a young Irish kid that was at United that played. I think he signed professionally at United as well. He was in my under-21 side, Desi. So Richie Baker, his brother as well. So, yeah, he'd have played up front. That was the only name I think that would have played in that match. The Preston side, we would have had names that, again, you wouldn't recognise. Paul McKenna, who went on to be one of North End's...
Magician.
You recognise the Magician's name. He went on to be one of Preston North End's record appearance holders, so he would have played in that game with us as well.
Good little nugget of a story, an unexpected story there on.
This is the highest the brow has ever reached in Deal or No Deal. Anyway, back to the lowbrow stuff. We're going through some last rumours before we wrap up this morning.
Just killed it. Adrian just killed it there as well.
It's all about if you can reach into the barrel, just find the stuff that's on it, scrape it off, and bring it to the studio. That is what Deal or No Deal is.
I would have thought that was low barrel stuff.
Save your stuff for outside of Deal or No Deal. Save your good shit for that. Right, Kev. As you know, we've been monitoring talk around feisty Spanish forward Diego Costa.
Yeah.
He was linked with Wolves, but as we called, that seems to have been based on fake quotes. The West Ham rumour has some momentum, and he's been linked with Everton. However, that talk has slowed, and today he's been linked with Roma. How much would you like to see him back in the Premier League, and do you believe the Everton move is a possibility.
I would love it. I heard Stephen Doyle on last week talking about this. I'd love to see him at Everton, yeah. Considering how he left Chelsea and it spoke a little bit of homesickness, not really settling in London. I don't necessarily see him settling in Liverpool, if that's the case. So, as much as I'd love to see it happen, I'd love to see him back in the Premier League. I think he would be perfect. He's exactly what Everton need. Everton desperate for a number 9. They need a striker of his ilk that's going to be everything, that would score goals, that would be, cause a bit of shithousery around the pitch as well. Yeah, you did need him. He'd be absolutely perfect, and Everton fans would absolutely love him. He would be a star, and he'd go down, I'd like to think, as a real top Everton striker over the Premier League era. So I'd love it, but I can't see it given how he left Chelsea. If Everton get the deal over the table, Fabian Delph gone in this week, he'll be on big money going in there to Everton. So Everton can afford it now. Everton can pay big wages. It's just, I just can't see it given how he left Chelsea. But yeah, I'd love to see it happen though.
The other big rumour regarding Everton and a striker is with 33-year-old Mario Mandzukic.
Yeah, I'd much prefer to see Costa, of course. Mandzukic is not as mobile, not as aggressive, but he's probably what Everton need. They need a striker. Now, 33, you look at it and you think, is his age profile right? Is he going to go? He's not going to give you 6 or 7 years, but Everton might need a player for 2 or 3 years that's going to go in and do a job there. So, if you look at him maybe at Juve towards the back end, he played a lot on the left-hand side. He's not. I don't recall him over the last 4 or 5 years playing as an out-and-out number 9 regularly, week in, week out. And he did a great job for Juve playing as a left-sided midfielder, left winger as a front 3. They hit a lot of diagonal balls on him, and he was feeding players inside him as an out-and-out number 9. Good player, brilliant player. But I prefer Costa.
Last rumour we want to touch on is Dani Alves and his connection to Arsenal, apparently.
There's talk of him for City as well. I don't know if you saw that last week as well. Alves to City with his connections with Guardiola. I don't know. I don't know what you're saying there as an Arsenal fan.
I think that if you're going to go out and sign 18-year-olds all summer and then go and sign a 36-year-old and give him presumably a massive contract, it kind of scuppers everything, doesn't it? As a footballing move, I think it'll be an excellent one in the short term, but ultimately I think Arsenal fans have to put up with the fact that this is now a long-term project.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he had a great Copa America, and he was captain, I think, wasn't he? He was captain of Brazil, but Dani Alves, can you see him as being a good influence over the youngsters that Arsenal are going to be signing? If I was Arsenal, I would stay as far clear from that transfer as possible.
Really?
He's a brilliant player, but you only need to see the influence he was having over that PSG dressing room. Him and Neymar together were a bad influence over that club. And Arsenal, the way that they've been, how he'll discipline as a club they've been for 10, 15 years, he is the exact player that they don't need. No.
Himself and Mesut Ozil, 2 peas in a pod.
Oh, God. Do you know what? I think Ozil's just Ozil. I don't personally think he's probably a bad influence over a bad egg. I don't think he's a bad egg. I think it's just he has that laboured style. And
he's not contagious.
No. Yeah, who would be contagious? If you can pick one player across world football, wouldn't be Dani Alves.
Right, Jesus. A couple of things that have been confirmed. 2 things. We'll get to De Ligt in just a moment, but Steve Bruce, first of all, at Newcastle. What's your whole take on this? I mean, Benitez not being helped out of the club. Clearly, Steve Bruce is a downgrade. So but we're not going to waste time on having that argument.
Yeah, that's true.
But how big of a downgrade is it?
Even Steve Bruce, to be fair, himself has said, "I am a downgrade."
Has he? Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but that was pretty much it.
I mean, do you know what? Steve Bruce has done well. He was my manager at Wigan. I actually like working under him. I think he did great with us at Wigan. We were gone. We were almost relegated. We looked like we were relegated. I think he came into us about November time, and we stayed up with games to spare. So he kept us up comfortably that year, and I like working under him. I think he was great for it was probably just what we needed at Wigan at the time. But the feeling around Newcastle, if you only need to look back, if I'm looking at Steve Bruce, similar sort of style and manager to Sam Allardyce. Look when Sam Allardyce went into Newcastle and the feeling towards him when he went in there. The feeling around the club now, they feel as though Mike Ashley's just clearly having a laugh at the supporters now by appointing Bruce. But this is his dream job. He got the Sunderland job. It went tits up at Sunderland simply because the Sunderland fans wouldn't accept him because he's a Geordie. This is his dream job, and I think he'll bring the right coaching staff in around him. I think he'll have everything in place necessary to make him do the job. I think he'll keep Newcastle up, but will it be enough for the supporters? No. If anyone watched Newcastle over the last few years under Rafa Benitez, you can't tell me Newcastle played great football, because he simply didn't. Didn't play a great brand of football. When you went to watch Newcastle, you knew what you were getting. It was They played 5 at the back. They had 4 sat in front and 1 up front. That's how they played, 5-4-1. It was a negative style that stopped teams playing against them, and they got results. Steve Bruce will play a similar sort of style, but he hasn't got the X factor of Rafa Benitez. That's simply it.
Lastly, then, another confirmed one, Matthias de Ligt, gone to Juventus. I'm guessing that you think this is a good move for him, because you said in the Premier League he might just struggle at this point in his career.
I thought, because the physicality, everything around it, and looking how Llorente played against him. He'd faced Llorente week in, week out, or that type of striker week in, week out. So I think it's a great move for him. I think he can learn from the likes of Chiellini, the likes of Bonucci. And if they go to a 3 at the back, what a trio that would be. Yeah. De Ligt stepping in, learning from those two. I think it is the perfect move for him. Yeah, I do. I think it's a great move for him personally. Yeah.
Kev, thanks for being part of the Deal or No Deal circle this morning. Thank you, Adrian, as well, for being part of the Deal or No Deal circle.
He does like chip in there at some point.
Chip in with 1 or 2. He can't keep his mouth shut for 5 minutes, can he? But anyway.
Right, I am going to keep my mouth shut for the next few minutes, because we're on the way to Royal Portrush, live to the course. John Duggan up after these.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In store, online, and now on your phone. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Let's face it, the Irish summer has serious commitment issues. It's always late, disappears for weeks at a time, and consistently breaks its promises. But not us. At Electric Ireland, we're committed to giving you an 8.5% saving on your gas and electricity year after year after year after year. Visit electricireland.ie/join for the kind of commitment you deserve.
Estimated annual bill €1,736. Average consumption, urban 24-hour, discounted unit rate, standing charge, PSO levy and carbon tax. Residential, dual fuel, direct debit and online billing. Terms and conditions apply. See electricireland.ie/EAB. Rated 1st of April 2019. Subject to change.
So you only realised
I kind of forgot as well, to be quite honest with you.
Kevin forgot your coffee.
Oh, thank you very much.
The good folks and the good
looking well for 31, Owen. Good man.
I actually kind of forgot, to be quite honest with you. Thank you for reminding me.
You forgot that it was your birthday?
Yeah, I actually kind of did, to be quite honest, yeah.
Happy birthday, Owen.
Oh, thank you very much. I remember it because I got an email, and it was my dad's name. And I was like, what is this? It was John Sheahan has messaged you on LinkedIn. Well, on the LinkedIn, my dad wished me birthday on LinkedIn. So thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Cheers, lads.
Good man.
Thanks for the coffee.
You called your father John Sheahan.
But that's what I saw in the email.
Right.
So that's what I was explaining the story. Instead of Sheahan.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like
it's your name.
I'm in the company of people who maybe
no, you're not.
Eyebrow.
No.
Yeah. No. I've had that my whole life. Mispronunciation of a name.
How's yours been mispronounced?
Kilbane.
Oh, Kilbane, of course.
Kilbane, yeah.
The Americans pronounce it as such.
No, early in your career, wasn't there some commentary of...
No, the what? Yeah, Jim Beglin. Jim Beglin as well, an Irishman as well, called me Kilbane. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, honestly. I've had that my whole life, yeah.
So what do you do for... What age are you? Oh, whatever you turned...
25.
25 now.
25, good man.
Oh. Peak of your career.
You're 25.
Yeah. It's all uphill after that.
Where were you when you were 25?
Oh, listen, we don't want to get into that one.
Things are going to start going soon.
So what's the plan then?
Not much, to be quite honest with you. Not much.
There must be something.
I did something down at home last week, obviously. That was kind of...
the shit out of Mayo.
No, you were on holidays.
Did you must have enjoyed it last weekend. I mean,
yeah.
I was saying it was in Killarney. We've not really spoke about Killarney. We
haven't spoken about it, no.
Buzzing.
Right.
Just never leave the game. The town was buzzing.
It's amazing.
It was absolutely hopping. Like every bar was buzzing. What a place to be last weekend. You must have had a great weekend.
It was absolutely fantastic. I just kind of wish I didn't take Monday off and stay down Sunday night. It was kind of tough leaving on Sunday evening. I'm not going to lie, because you do get the full thing. But even Saturday night was hopping down there. It's absolutely brilliant. The races down there this week. Frankie Dettori as well. Like it's just once you have a dry day down there and a bit of sport. I think it's hard to
25, 26 degrees.
Oof.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Day. Unbelievable.
And to watch the cricket afterwards.
Exactly.
Happy days.
Happy days is right.
Well, listen, on, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday.
25th. John Duggan.
Good morning.
Have you had the Ulster fry, John? That is the main question I've got for you.
I haven't had an Ulster fry yet. I've had a sausage blah. I don't know, they like a square sausage thing or something they do up here. So I don't know in Portrush.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you had a full English or a full Irish? That's the one.
The Ulster fry, Kev.
A full Northern Irish.
Oh, right, there you go. There you go.
By the way, Eoin Sheahan, happy birthday, Eoin.
Thanks, John.
I hope you have a great day. The only thing I can't promise a 5 in a row. Well, actually, I can for Dublin, but I can't promise to carry all Ireland this year. So it'll have to be something else to your present. It'll have to be something else to your present on September the 1st, you know?
But I look forward to whatever that may be, John. I'm going to hold you to that.
Probably a pub crawl around Dublin, Eoin, but yeah.
I like the sound of that.
Good,
I like the sound of that. The Royal Oak, we'll be heading up to Royal Oak.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Don't be giving away Kev's hideaways.
Well, it's John's hideaway as well.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
John, what's happening up there this morning? Obviously, we've just had a fairly lengthy conversation with John Molloy earlier about the impact of Rory McIlroy's mini meltdown, I suppose, in the first yesterday. What's the impact of that having today, or what do you expect from the rest of day 2 at the Open?
Well, the thing about it is Brooks Koepka has gone first at the PGA last year, second at the Masters, tied second, first at the PGA again this year because they moved the PGA to number 2, and then he was second at the US Open. And now, with the local guy, Ricky Elliott, on the bag, he's made a birdie early on the par 5 second hole to go to 4 under par. So he's only a shot off the lead, held by the American JB Holmes, who tees off at 9.25. Shane Lowry and Brooks Koepka now on 4 under par. Shane Lowry is out at 7 minutes to 1. I think from an Irish perspective, he's probably our only chance now, unless Darren Clark or James Sugru can do something special from level par, or Graham McDowell shoots the lights out from 2 over par. So I think it's all about Shane, and I think hopefully Shane now, with a carefree attitude, and if the weather stays relatively benign as it is right now, he can add to that 4 under par he shot yesterday and do better today.
Yeah, and he has, we had spoken a little bit earlier on, he has a bit of form now, John, obviously in these tournaments, competing at the top end of the top tournaments, and when his mentality is right, I suppose the main question is whether he can maintain that mental fortitude, I suppose, over the course of the 4 days.
I think you would have learned a lot, Adrian, from Oakmont in 2016 when he had that lead on the Sunday and Dustin Johnson won that tournament to the US Open, and I don't think Shane blew it, but I just don't think he was in that position before, and now he's in with the chance of being in that position on Sunday afternoon. And I think Abu Dhabi was really important, winning that tournament at the start of the year. He's jumped 40 places in the world rankings. He's played well in the States, played well at Hilton Head. Also the 3rd place finish there. Tuned up nicely at a hinge when he wasn't feeling the best on the Friday. Played a bit of practice links golf last week and felt nervous yesterday. He had a pep talk with his coach the day before. But once he got into the rhythm, I think he's taking the triumph and disaster and treating those imposters as the same thing. And I think that his attitude is better on the course than it's ever been. And I think he does have a chance, given the ability he has, especially around the greens here at Portrush, where you need to be quite clever around the chipping surfaces and the elevated upturned greens, the putting surfaces. Regarding what's happening this morning, Eric Van Rooyen is the only other player to make a move to 3 under par. But the host of names there are 3 under. We saw yesterday John Ram, the Irish Open winner, Sergio Garcia, former Masters champion, 2 under, 1 under still in it. And the weather always is the determining factor here. And I think that if the rain comes, as it could this afternoon, it could make life difficult for players. So we had 4 seasons in one day yesterday. And if you're a little bit off, for whatever reason is, if it's nerves for Rory McIlroy, if it's a physical issue with Tiger Woods, then this course can punish you.
Yeah, Rory is 8 over par, as we know. Tees off at 3:10 today. Tiger 7 over and is away in just about an hour's time. And I mean, I expect that the crowds will still be out for Tiger today. It might be the last chance they're going to get to see him this week.
Of course, yeah. And they're not going to see him at a Portrush Open, I would doubt, in the future, unless he plays as a senior, because it's going to come here another couple of times before 2040. But look, it's Tiger Woods. He didn't look very happy out there yesterday. He said in the post-match press conference, or the post-round press conference, that he was feeling sore. I just think that the back is still not 100%. And even though he had 4 back surgeries, he did incredibly to come back and win the Masters. But he played a good few weeks before the Masters. He's only played 3 times since Augusta. And I think with 156 players in the field, you've got to have elite sharpness to turn your body the way he needs to turn his body to get himself in a position to have those crisp iron shots into greens. And he couldn't do that yesterday. He looked rusty and he looked out of sorts. And I hope he does recover, because I felt a bit sorry for him, and I did feel sorry for Rory. It was just one of those things. You have that kind of strange out of bounds in the first, and he hooked it, he hit it left, and once he had that 8, whatever he said, like I don't think anybody who would have taken an 8, just the air goes out of your balloon, and Kevin will probably know more as a sports person, but a setback like that, surely he was going around this whole round in a daze thinking about that setback, whatever he would have portrayed outwardly.
Tiger Woods is in such a position now that he's sending other players texts to see can he get into their practice rounds, and they're ignoring him.
Yeah, look, I think Brooks Koepka said he changed his phone number or whatever. But I don't know what the... Yeah, look, these people get about 1,000 texts a day. I mean, we'd probably be lucky to get a text a day from somebody.
I'm telling you, John, if Tiger Woods pops up on my phone, I'm probably going to reply to him.
He'd be saying up West Meath, or maybe saying happy birthday to Owen Sheahan or something, or asking Kevin for football tickets or whatever. But look, it's a funny one, but like it was only April that he won the Masters, so I think there was a bit of tongue in cheek with the Brooks Koepka thing. He does have a bit of local knowledge with this caddy Ricky Elliott, who was a great friend of Graham McDowell's and still is growing up. And it's funny how the tables turn, but it's all in a week, and next week Rory McIlroy could be the hero. I think the sad thing for Rory is the next major is the Masters, and there's always this talk ahead of the Masters of, well, is there issues there? Is it got into your head that you haven't won a green jacket? And he's got to wait now till next April, because of course now is the anchor leg of major golf, the Open Championship this week. And it's funny that it's all on the line. We've got Brooks Koepka, Gary Woodland and Tiger Woods as American winners of majors this year. Is there going to be a European winner this week? Possibly John Ram, given the way he did play for maybe about 15 holes yesterday.
John, you mentioned Brooks Koepka there shooting under par earlier on. Weather conditions, do you see anybody shooting big today to come out of the pack and seriously make a statement?
Somebody might be able to shoot 66 or 65. It really, the weather here is very, very hard to determine, Kevin. Like, the course is literally on the sea, and some links courses are a bit in from the sea. But this course, like the fifth hole, White Rocks, is like you're falling off the cliff, effectively. So I do think weather is very changeable. Even in the forecasting, they're saying that they can't really predict what's going to happen here on Sunday. They have an idea, but they don't have a full picture. So rain comes in here, it's very heavy, it's very unpleasant. And when the winds get up, it's a course that's very fair. If you hit in the right spots, you're okay. But if it gets tricky and you can find some pretty bad rough, you can really lead to horrendous numbers, as we saw with Rory yesterday, an 8, a 5 and a 7. So it all depends on the weather. That is the teeth of links golf. But I can definitely see somebody shooting 68, 67, 66 today. I think the key thing more so is consistency over the 4 rounds. Can you shoot in the 60, 68, 69, 70 and maybe a 67 to get to 10, 12 under par and win the Open? I think that's what's required. I'd be interested to see the likes of Sergio Garcia, Tommy Fleetwood, who I think is out at the moment, Tyrrell Hatton, Lee Westwood, Louis Westhuizen, Matt Kuchar's 1 under par, Ricky Fowler's 1 under. Can these guys make a move today? But at the moment, if you're Brooks Koepka, it never ceases to amaze me that Brooks Koepka finished 65th and 57th on his last 2 starts, and he's able to just turn it on in the majors. That's pretty special.
Yeah, he's
becoming Tiger-esque.
He's the anti-Rory McIlroy. John, thanks.
All he does is go to the gym. He doesn't practice. He goes to the gym and he wins majors. So I don't know. Maybe there's a lesson in that for us all.
There is something in there for us all. John, thanks a million.
All right, guys. Take
Enjoy
care.
the weekend. Thanks a lot. John Duggan there at live on the line from Royal Portrush. Will O'Callaghan, good morning to you.
Morning, Adrian.
Before we get to you, Will, we hadn't quite trawled through Cork's demolition of Kerry last night. Have you any comment to make on
fair play to Cork?
The conveyor belt has shut down, essentially, was shut down last night.
Slammed shut,
Kev.
Yeah. Good to have Cork back in the mix. Swashbuckling style of football, it's all undeserved winners, hammering Kerry.
Classic Kerry guff.
Not really, to be honest with you.
Destroyed.
I've got a theory on Cork. I do wonder if their demise over the past, since basically they won the All-Irelands, I wonder has that been overstated because of the way Gaelic football has gone? That Cork people are just too bloody arrogant to have embraced the defensive style of football, that essentially football passed them by for most of the decade. Now, good football is back, and Cork are thriving once again. Really? They're attacking footballers. They weren't going to succumb to defensive systems. They've got brilliant footballers at every single grade.
Some might throw that arrogant tag at Kerry, though.
100%. 100%.
Not me.
But the thing is, Kerry obviously had better teams and were able to survive while playing attacking football. Let's bear in mind that Kerry and Cork have the same amount of All-Irelands this decade. So, I'm not exactly preaching from the mountaintop here. But I think that they were fully deserving winners last night. You have to say that David Clifford and Diarmuid O'Connor are of that age grade and weren't available to Kerry last year. But to be fair, that minor team beat that Cork minor team by 10 points when they were minors, and now there's been a swing. The Kerry under-20s actually have, I would say, underperformed over the last 3 years, the 3 minor All-Ireland winning teams that have come through. Like Jack O'Connor's been manager of them, and I certainly thought that tactically they got it all.
All the best players have been fast-tracked into the seniors, haven't they? So that's been the difference.
This is really only This is the first year of it, really. I mean, Clifford would have played with them last year. I suppose Sean O'Shea would have played with them last year as well.
Needs must, isn't that it?
It needs must, and like it's not that. I think that there's still been a level of underperformance there, and like I don't know. They weren't. It didn't seem like they got it amazingly right on the sideline last night. Certainly, famously, 2 years ago in that under-21 semi-final against Galway, Kerry kicked the ball out long to Peter Cook. He caught the ball. Kerry kicked the ball out long against Peter Cook. He caught the ball and he continued to dominate Kerry in midfield, and Kerry didn't have any tactical answer to that, which was an embarrassment really, given the great players that they had. So I don't think that the Kerry conveyor belt is being treated in as amazingly as it could possibly be, because at minor level and the development squads that are feeding those minor teams are absolutely fantastic. But the story from last night is Cork, and Cork are back.
So it's not like going to play it down though, is
Genuinely, are you concerned? We have a new slot called Genuinely. Are you? Is there any concern?
Well, there kind of has to be. I mean, the 5 in a row is now going to be turned into 2 in a row maximum, and that's a huge if. Even like there is patent evidence in front of us that Kerry have taken the minor team and they are not as dominant at under 20 level. I don't care about who's missing. Granted, 2 of the best minors we've ever seen in David Clifford and Sean O'Shea.
You said that 5 times already.
I don't care who they're missing. I think that it's impossible to argue against the fact that Kerry have lost something between minor and under 20s, and that is not just down to the personnel that they've lost to the seniors.
As an aside, that under 20 rule is a little bit mental as well. Like, I understand obviously you want players to play at their own grade. In hurling though, where you can have just as many games for an under 21 player, you can play senior and under 21 the same summer. And when you're knocked out, like Laois are playing 2 of their senior players tonight, but they weren't available for the start of this championship. They only became available when they were knocked out of the qualifiers. To me, that's just a bonkers rule.
Yeah. At least, I guess the argument is there that, I mean, it should be taken out of some counties' hands because you don't want players burnt out and all that. But ultimately, you'd like to trust that most counties would be able to make that decision themselves. To actually say, you know what, David Clifford played at the weekend, we're not going to burn him out by playing him again midweek, sort of thing. So,
right. Eoin doesn't want to talk about Kerry football. Kev sure shit doesn't want to talk about Kerry football at the minute. So, well, what have you got for us?
Well, we'll talk about the Open to start, Adrian, because Shane Lowry's just 1 shot off the lead heading into today's second round. The Offaly man had 5 birdies, just a single bogey in a 4 under par round of 67 at Royal Portrush yesterday. He's very much within touching distance of the leader, JB Holmes. It's the first time that Portrush has hosted the tournament in almost 70 years, and Lowry says there's a very special atmosphere this week, especially compared to majors that are played in the USA.
I think this is one of the best golf courses in Ireland. Like, for me, it's in the top 2 in Ireland, and I think it's a great open venue. And look, it's great for the people. And you know, when you go, I find when you go and play big tournaments in big cities, they're not as, the locals don't you know, take to it as much as to do in a place like this, where, you know, I can imagine for the last couple of years it's anything anyone's ever been talking about. So it's you know, it's taken over the whole place, even the towns around here. It's great to be here, and it's you know, it's all the potential to be an unbelievable Open, and probably one of the best Opens ever, I think. And I'm just hoping that it's going to be special for me.
Well, there's company for JP Holmes now at the top of the leaderboard as well. Tyrrell Hatton won the early starters today, has just gone to 5 under par as well. Rory McIlroy, his focus perhaps a little bit different to Lowry, who's trying to win the Claret Jug. McIlroy won't be doing that on Sunday, but he says he remains confident of making the cut despite his nightmare first round yesterday. The 4-time major winner is a full 13 shots off the lead at 8 over par, and he'll need a low round just to make the weekend. The world number 3 though feels he can do exactly that.
I definitely think if I can put the ball in the fairway tomorrow, I can shoot a good enough score to be around for the weekend. You know, I obviously, you know, I'm pretty sure anyone starting with a 79 in this golf tournament doesn't think about winning at this point. But, you know, I think I can go out there, shoot something in the mid-60s, be around for the weekend, and then try to, you know, play good from there.
Meanwhile, Graham McDowell also wants to put a disappointing first day behind him. G-Mac grew up playing at Royal Portrush as a junior. He triple bogeyed the 18th hole to leave him fighting to make the cut as well. McDowell says to be 2 over par is particularly disappointing after playing so well for the best part on day 1.
The first 5 holes were there for the taking a little bit, and you could kind of get into the round quite easily. You know, I was only 1 under through 6, and you feel like, you know, you should be a little better, but and then I felt like I played the tough part of the course really well, you know. Set myself up with a good chance coming down the stretch, and you know, that heavy shower came through. It was definitely took a little bit of sting out of the greens. You know, that a 3-putt 15 and a 3-putt 17, which was hugely disappointing, and definitely kind of hurt a little bit, but. Yeah, that finish is going to take a little bit of getting over here for half an hour. There
we go, Graham McDowell, relaxed kind of dude, sitting there at the moment.
He was teary-eyed at the first tee, by his own admission.
Yeah, and I'd imagine he'd be teary-eyed, probably having a few cold beers at the weekend. It's not likely he's going to make that cut realistically.
To be fair, I think Graham McDowell gets an awful lot of stick for that video. The Social Network is one of the best movies of all time.
Gladiator.
Or was it Gladiator he said?
Social Network, I think, was his current favourite.
Sorry. Well, I take it all
Gladiator is
back.
his all-time classic.
Take it all back.
99% of our audience are like, what are you talking about?
Hey, look, if you haven't seen it, just put in GMAC PGA Tour, have a quick look at his crib, where he brings people around his house in Florida, and
thanks again,
won't be not entertained.
Fair play to him.
Porter Carrington, meanwhile, he's back out this afternoon from 4 over par. Home favourites, Graham McDowell teeing off from 2 over. Darren Clark and the Amateur Championship winner James Sugar, who had a really good first day, they both go out from level par. Meanwhile, Shamrock Rovers have set up a Europa League second qualifying round tie with Apollon Limassol next week. The Hoops defeated Brann 2-1 at Tallaght Stadium last night to overcome the Norwegians 4-3 on aggregate overall. Rovers, however, are likely to hand back quite a bit of their prize money. They're going to face a fine after fans invaded the pitch following Gary O'Neill's winner. And manager Stephen Bradley says they just got caught up in the moment.
The fans, over 5,000 here, probably 100 of them, on the pitch celebrating both goals. The club will probably get a fine. They just need to stay off the pitch, don't they? Because people from the UEFA are so serious about this stuff, and it doesn't probably look good.
Yeah, obviously we need to be better when we score a goal, but you have to understand the passion and what you have for this club and the excitement. You're at home, you're losing, and you go and win the game. You can understand it, but yeah, we need to control it better.
So you're due to play UCD on Sunday in the league. Is that game going to be on? Would you prefer it to be off, or do you have any say in the matter, given you're going to play, I think it's the home leg first next week?
Yeah, no, the game be on, UCD be on. We play the game. Considering we're at home next week, we play the game.
So the plus of having a big squad, I'm sure you can maybe rotate and have an eye on Thursday.
Yeah, we have players that obviously haven't played. We have players that will play again. It's an important game for us. It's a league game. We want to get as close to them as we can, and Sunday gives us a chance to do that.
And lastly, you'll face a team from Cyprus, Apollon Limassol, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Yes. Have you sent someone to watch them already? What do you know about them, and when you get the homework done on them, I'm sure straight away?
Yeah, we watched a bit of them. We just need to be careful because we obviously had tonight, and then we have UCD Sunday, so we need to make sure we're right for them 2 games. But we have a bit of homework done, and after UCD Sunday, we really get down to work on them.
Well done, Stephen. Thanks a minute.
Thanks, Jay.
Realistically, pretty difficult tie for them next week as well. Apollon Limassol played in the group stages of the Europa League last year and finished ahead of Marseille as well. Cork City, they lost out 3-2 on aggregate to Luxembourg's Progress. Niederkorn Progress will now face Stephen Gerrard's Rangers in the next round, while the Swedish side North Shopping were 4-1 victors against St. Pat's. The Republic of Ireland will need to beat the Czech Republic on Sunday to maintain hopes of a semi-final place at the Under-19 European Championships. Tom Owen's side lost by a late France goal to 0 in Yerevan last night to leave them on 1 point from 2 games. On the pitch, there's a Northwest derby in the SSE Electricity League Premier Division tonight. Derry City playing Sligo. Meanwhile, Finn Harps have made the trip to the RSC to face Waterford. Algeria meets Senegal in the final of the Africa Cup of Nations tonight. Kick-off in Cairo is at 8 p.m. Tottenham boss Mauricio Pochettino has admitted this morning he would have left his job if they won the Champions League. They were beaten by Liverpool in the final at the start of June. The Argentine says he's now looking forward to the challenge of a new season with Spurs, but he admits things could have been very different.
You can think into say, okay, maybe it's a moment to step out of the club and maybe to give the club the possibility to a real new chapter with a new coaching staff.
The dyed hair really stands out when you've got a big grey beard, doesn't it?
Do you think he's dyeing his hair?
Yeah.
Did you not see that he did an interview on Soccer AM a while ago, and he was asked that question outright?
Oh, was he?
You dye your hair.
And he said,
he did say no. Any man that dyes their hair, they're weak.
Get Hunty on the line there.
Yeah,
you dye your hair, Kevin?
Weak. Yeah, good one.
The rumour's been floated out there.
It's been said a lot, yeah.
That he dyes his hair and he's getting a bit
And do you know who else has been floated out about?
Do you think I dye my hair, Will? Come on.
No, realistically, you're looking...
No, not at all.
And Joe Molloy as well has been accused of hair dye.
Oh, well, Joe...
Well, at least Kev is middle-aged.
It's true. It's true.
Same age as you.
Absolutely.
Do you dye your hair? The ginger roots are still coming through there.
What do you think?
Imagine choosing to be ginger.
I'd say as a man, as a man, I could put you up there to say no chance. No.
Good answer, Kev. Correct answer.
Yeah, no chance.
Well, bring us back to reality here.
Well, as we spoke about in Gaelic games, Cork are the new Munster Under-20 football champions. Colomani scored 1-5 in their victory, 3-16 to 12 points against the defending champions Kerry at Porky Rin last night. It also secures an All-Ireland semi-final with Tyrone. Man of the match Mark Cronin told TG Carr after the game that it's a particularly special victory.
We believe in ourselves 100%. While we did get whatever score, 3 whatever, it was our backs. Our backs put in great performance. Dave, marquee forwards like Fiat Clifford, Donald Sullivan, they're top players. on our backs, man to man, took them out of it, and we backed ourselves 100%. We knew that we could do this.
Anytime Cork and Kerry play, it's always interesting. Anytime Cork can beat Kerry, for a Cork man, I'm sure that's a massive thrill. How big a deal is this to put one over the old enemy?
Oh, it's brilliant. Like, you look at this year, we've been close in every other grade, and I think we felt like we needed to win today to put it over them. Like, the seniors are close, juniors are close, minors very close. Feels very good to beat the Kingdom.
Now, the Leinster finals on tonight. Dublin against Laois, both unchanged from their semi-final victories. Throw-in at Boardman O'Connor Park is at 7:30. Jason Quigley suffered the first defeat of his professional boxing career overnight as well. The Donegal middleweight surrendered the North American title after being stopped by Tyrone Johnson in California. The July Festival at Killarney draws to a close this afternoon. First of a 7-race card at 5-2. Midlands National Evening at Kilbane as well. The first is off there at 25-6. And Huddersfield, Tommy Rooney has just sent me an image of it, have their new kit, and it doesn't contain the sash anymore. There's the original.
Yeah, everybody was sort of
jersey.
A lot of commentary on the fact that it was such a.
Can I just see
sponsor.
the first one again? Sorry, is it the first one again? Just for did it cover the badge? Oh, they moved the badge to the middle.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
So it's gone. Is it staying off?
Yeah, they want to not have sponsors kind of dominating jerseys. That's what Paddy Power have said.
So they're going to be associated with the club, but just in that shirt sponsorship role without the shirt sponsorship.
As far as I can tell, yeah, it's part of their new hashtag Save Our Shirt campaign.
That's actually quite nice, the chain strip.
Very nice, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Cool.
They're onto something.
That it?
That's it.
Thanks a million. And lads, thanks a million as always for coming in. Tommy's just confirming there and he's deleted it now, so I can't confirm that, but I think it was essentially just rewrapping what had been said there. Thanks a million for coming in. Enjoy the golf.
I will do, yeah.
Wouldn't mind getting an all invite the next time, but sure, look, I mean, if you have to be asking for these things. No, listen, it's too late now. I have my day planned out. Busy man.
Oh, well, I know that. I know that's hard to get hold of you these days.
Happy birthday, Owen.
Thank you very much.
Cheers
for the cake. It looks really nice.
It's going to be an incredibly quiet weekend for you.
Yeah, I'll go to Croke Park on Sunday, and that's probably the highlight.
I'm taking my daughter to Croke Park. She's going to be inflicted on Mayo for the rest of her life now. So she's coming to Croke Park on Sunday, yeah.
Are you sure this is a wise thing to be doing?
Oh, yeah, definitely be good.
Mayo are always best when it's make or break.
Hopefully. We'll see how it goes.
Right, do stay tuned to OTB Sports Radio across today. Enda Collin and Ronan Mullen are back with a second episode of That's Not a Sport podcast. This podcast looking at all the obscure sports out there and why people love them. This week they look at 10-pin bowling. And they speak to Irish international Jason Burns about the nuances of professional bowling. 1 o'clock, it's a gold football show special. Jason McAteer, Niall Quinn, and Kevin Kilbane, I think, in the hot seat. I caught a bit of that during the week. It's a good chat.
Gold.
Yeah. Catherine Switzer's remarkable story on OTB Gold as well. Super 8's preview there, Pillar Caffrey and Enda McGinley. That's from 2 o'clock. Friday night racing from 3 o'clock this afternoon. Land of the Rising Scrum will focus on South Africa from 4 on OTB Sports Radio today. The latest episode of the Hurling Show, a rerun of yesterday's show with Chen Stapleton from 5 o'clock. At 6 o'clock it's back into some gold with the Irish legend Ronnie Delaney. Off the ball live from 7 and Team 33 from 9 o'clock. So it's a busy old afternoon, Kev, busy weekend. It's 9:30. That's it from us from this morning. Good morning.
OTB AM. Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of